Good evening, everyone. We will now reconvene the special meeting for Tuesday, January 10th. Are there any final actions to report out?
Good evening, Madam Mayor. No final action tonight.
Okay, we will now adjourn the special meeting and call to order the City Council regular meeting for Tuesday, January 10th. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council members Aquino.
Here.
Chalem-Sherla.
Here.
Kozlowski. Here. Rohrbaugh. And Rodriguez.
Here. Councilmember Aquino, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Are there any agenda updates?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and the members of the City Council. There is additional information for items 2 and 14, as well as revised staff report for items 6 and 11. A copy had previously been provided to you, and they are also available on the table in the back.
Okay, and then we will also be switching items number 15 and 14, reverse the order. Okay. Will the clerk please call the next item?
Okay, your next item this evening is business from the floor. You have about 8 requests to speak under this item.
Okay, business from the floor is the public's opportunity to address the city council concerning any item within the city's jurisdiction that is not on the agenda. Please keep in mind that the city council is generally prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item that is not on the agenda. Public comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes. There is a speaker timer on the podium in front of you that will display the time you have remaining on your 3 minutes. The color will change to yellow and you will have 30 seconds left and turn to red and blink when your 3 minutes are completed. We ask that everyone respect the 3-minute time limit to ensure that all speakers have an equal opportunity to address the city council. Are there any requests to speak?
You do. You have about 8 requests this evening. Your first is from Rich Foreman and Kyle Middleton.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have, I missed the deadline to turn in presentation, but I have handouts. So
Okay.
Pass it up.
Yes.
Yeah, if you wanted the 6 minutes.
And Richard, if I understand correctly, you will be speaking for 2 individuals, taking
Right.
up 6 minutes.
6 minutes. Thank you. So hopefully you guys can follow along on with the handouts.
Okay.
My name is Rich Foreman. I'm a Folsom resident and a serial entrepreneur. And today what I'm proposing is a proposal for the city to actually invest in entrepreneurship and innovation. And I'm just going to start out with a small statistic that 64% of all new jobs come from small business. And this is a statistic from the SBA. And what I'm going to talk about today is what our neighbors are doing, the ingredients of a thriving startup ecosystem, and what we have here in Folsom. Then I'll talk about our proposal, then what's in it for Folsom, and then if we have time, I could go over case studies and the Folsom strategic goals. So let me talk about what our neighbors are doing. So the city of Sacramento, they've actually been investing in innovation and entrepreneurship for years. They actually have a whole team dedicated to innovation and economic development. They've had 2 separate, two $1 million funds where they've given out grants to organizations to promote innovation, entrepreneurship, and workplace development. And they've also set up something called the Sacramento Urban Technology Lab. In terms of Elk Grove actually has started a $800,000 startup fund. Last year, they actually had a $20,000 startup pitch, which is like a Shark Tank, where they had $20,000 in prizes. And not only that, but they actually help startups with getting leases, making connections, and getting positive press. And the picture that you see there, that's actually Kevin Favreau. He actually won the Elk Grove startup pitch event. He's actually a Folsom resident, so he actually had to leave Folsom to get leave our city to get resources elsewhere. Talk about Roseville. Roseville now is investing $1.3 million in innovation over the next 4 years. They have a startup space called the Venture Lab, and they've also created a startup boot camp called Roseville Rising. The next slide, you can see they actually had a great event last year. It was a terrific event. It's called GFX, and that's the Roseville mayor actually presenting it there. City of Rockland, this is actually fairly new, but they've actually have a program called Build Up Rockland, and this is where they're investing in existing technology companies and help them basically be put on a more stable footing. And finally, El Dorado County, they've actually set aside $500,000 for 10 scholarships dedicated for startups. So there's actually 6 components of a thriving startup ecosystem. It's talent, education, events, mentorship, an accelerator, and funding. So I'm going to talk about what we have actually in Folsom. We have talent. We have the talent. We have Intel. We have PowerSchool, Micron. We have educated, experienced people here. And in terms of education, we also are producing educated people. We have Folsom Lake College. We have DeVry University. And Sacramento State is just up the road, a couple exits down. In terms of events, this slide here, we actually have a lot of events are occurring around Granite City, Startup SAC, Startup Folsom. We've actually done programming to encourage entrepreneurship. So what's missing in Folsom is mentorship. We don't have an accelerator program, and there is no funding for early stage startups. So this is what our proposal is. And our proposal, essentially, we want to address what's missing here in Folsom, and that's mentorship, incubators, create a seed fund, and we also want to actually basically have a solid programming, a startup program, which is right now being done on a volunteer basis. So in terms of programming, we're looking at having 4 events a month, and that's around education, networking, inspiration, and mentorship. And we're also planning something we're calling Tech Week, which is going to occur in May. It's going to be a week of events. It's going to have a pitch event, similar to like Shark Tank. We're going to have a Women in Tech event and a TEDx that's focused on technology. In terms of mentorship, we've actually created a program called Founders Anonymous. It's really an entrepreneur support group, and we just had an event last week where basically 14 entrepreneurs came in, they came with problems, and as a group, we help each other out. We may not have solved all the problems, but we put them in the right direction. And then we like to propose a 1-year program where we're going to partner with an accelerator, where we're going to basically try to put 10 startups in, and then basically at the end of a year, they're going to be ready for investment. We also like to ask for seed funding, which will provide grants for early stage startups. So the next slide here is our proposal. We've actually have spreadsheets to show you how we came up with this number, but it's roughly $300,000. So finally, I want to talk about what's in it for Folsom. And really, what we're talking about is innovation as economic development. And what we're trying to do is basically use the talent here. We're investing in the talent that we have here and grow it. So the traditional model is that you're going to woo someone from the Bay Area to come here. You're going to give them money or whatever, tax incentive to come here. But you're also competing against Roseville, Elk Grove, City of Sacramento. But you're also competing against Alabama, which is actually paying them to move here. But if you're investing in local entrepreneurs, helping them, giving education guidance, it's a much smaller ask. And you can see, PowerSchool was just a 3-person startup.
Richard, just to remind you, you have 7 seconds left.
Okay, and the last one is matching funds. And if you give me a few minutes, matching funds, by investing in our program, Folsom becomes eligible to actually request funds through several programs. And the stipulation is that you have matching funds and you have programs that demonstrate the capability and commitment for entrepreneurship. And the funding can be leveraged at 1x or 2x in terms of return. You get a 1x or 2x return in federal funding.
Rich, I'm going to need you to wrap it up.
And that's it.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No, we are not able to have the conversation.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, your next speaker this evening is Amgaya Rao, who will be followed by Ravi Krishna Patanangari. So come on down.
Good evening and namaste. My name is Agamya Rao and I'm a high schooler and I volunteer for the Hindu Swayamsevak Sangh or HSS. And I'm a proud resident of the city of Folsom for over 4 years. Today I'd like to announce the 16th annual Health for Humanity Yogathon or the Surya Namaskar Yagna, organized by the Hindu Swayamsevak Sangh USA or HSS. The 16-day event aims to create awareness about yoga and its advantages in achieving a healthy body, mind, and spirit. Surya Namaskar integrates 10 simple yoga postures that, along with simple breathing techniques, can provide immense health benefits to both the body and the mind. Each year on January 14th, Hindus worldwide celebrate Makar Sankranti, a day that marks the changing of the seasons. Makar Sankranti ushers in longer days, which is why the festival symbolizes sunshine and life. To mark this occasion, HSS has organized the Health for Humanity Yogathon from January 14th to January 29, 2023. HSS initiated this awareness program in 2007, now in its 16th year, and since its inception, participants of all faiths and beliefs have taken part from 43 states through yoga centers, community organizations, schools, and colleges. Collectively, we have participated in and performed over 4 million Surya Namaskars. Community leaders and many elected officials across the nation have shown their appreciation for this initiative and encourage residents to participate and gain the benefits of an overall healthy lifestyle. This year, HSS invites community groups, yoga centers, students, and individuals to participate and learn in the Health for Humanity Yogathon. This program is open to people of all ages, genders, and races, and we aspire to collaborate with the city as much as possible to reach out to members of our community. Our goal is to get as many people as we can from our city to reap the benefits of this initiative. On behalf of the Hindu Swayamsevak Sangh and the local Hindu community, Dhanyavad and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Agamya.
Okay. Sorry, next speaker is Ravi Krishna Patangari, who will then be followed by Anshal Mishra.
You could bring it down.
Okay.
Welcome, Ravi.
Good evening and namaste to the respected mayor and all the city council members. My name is Ravi Krishna Potan Nagadi and I'm in 7th grade studying at Winston Churchill Middle School. I'm currently living in the city of Folsom and I'd like to talk about the Seva Diwali initiative. For this, we not only have contributed in food items, but we've also spread the message of Diwali, the festival Diwali of how to spread light everywhere. And also, all the kids that were part of this drive spread the message in their schools and communicated with the principals to help donate to this food drive and help spread the message. We've done 2 car parades in the Sacramento region, in Sacramento and in Roseville. We've decorated about 30 cars with lights and spread the message about Seva Diwali and Diwali to everyone who has seen us. Roseville City Council member Scott Alvord also took part of this. Now, I would like to share my experience. I've helped decorate and set up the food donation boxes in the Folsom Hindu Temple. Throughout this food drive, I've helped donate to various food banks in the Sacramento area. I've also assisted and helped donate to many drop-off locations in the greater Sacramento area, such as Sacramento, Folsom, and Roseville. I've also felt very happy donating and making sure that the needy people who need food and shelter and make sure they are happy. This year, I'd like to meet new people in this food drive and also tell them to spread the message of this drive to everyone who wants to take part and help the people in need. Once again, I feel very proud of being part of the Seva Diwali food drive. Thank you and Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Ravi.
Okay, next will be Anshal Mishra, who will be followed by Dr. Kate Cordell.
Namaste, dear Mayor and City Council members of Folsom. My name is Anshul Mishra, a member of Hindu Swayamsevak Sangh, also known as HSS, and I am a 10th grader and a proud resident of Folsom. I would like to briefly share some information about the recently concluded Seva Diwali food donation drive with you. As chances are you have heard about Diwali, also known as the Festival of Lights, which falls in the months of October or November. And during the celebration of Diwali, all dharmic organizations collectively host Seva Diwali. And Seva Diwali is an initiative coordinated nationally by HSAs, which allows individuals, communities, and organizations who believe in the Seva Dharma to come together across the United States. The Seva Dharma means service to humanity is service to divinity. In other words, it means to give back to the society where we live during the festival of Diwali. As part of Seva Diwali, we collected non-perishable food items and donated them to local pantries, shelters, and people in need. We are pleased to share that this year, more than 95 volunteers in Greater Sacramento, Yuba City, and around the Chico area from 33 local organizations joined hands and collected 8,500 pounds of food in 19 cities and donated 14 food banks in 6 counties. In the city of Folsom alone, we donated 61,000 pounds of non-perishable food items for the Twin Lakes Food Bank. And we give our sincere appreciation and thanks to the Twin Lakes Food Bank for the important work they do collecting and distributing food for those in need. To promote community awareness, we had a Seva Diwali car parade where people decorated cars with lights and drove around the city. Seva Diwali in Sacramento was started back in 2019, and since then, the event has donated 18,000 pounds of food. And Seva Diwali is a national initiative. So in 2022 alone, the Seva Diwali program donated 630,000 pounds of food to over 200 organizations. This donation will serve over 525,000 meals, and this was possible by people and organizations coming together in 200 cities and townships in 32 states across the U.S. Since its inception in 2018, Seva Diwali has donated around 1.5 million pounds of food nationwide. Dhanyavad, and thank you on behalf of the Seva Diwali team.
Thank you, Anshul, and congratulations on your success in collecting food for the needy.
Thank you.
Okay, next will be Dr. Kate Cordell, who will be followed by Michael Curtin.
Hi, thank you for your time. I'm Dr. Kate Cordell. I'm co-founder of Opeka, a local startup here in Folsom. I'm here with my co-founder, Ken Connect. We started Opeka 2 years ago. It's a health tech company that helps care providers, specifically focusing on Medicaid and foster care providers, identify the impact, measure the impact they're making on the people they serve. We are located, as I mentioned, here in Folsom in the business park on the beautiful lake of Natoma, and we wouldn't have it anywhere else. And in fact, being located here in Folsom, we were able to recruit an experienced CFO, CEO, and chief medical officer right from within Folsom. They all live within walking distance. So this has been a great asset to our company. I participated in the Elk Grove Pitch Contest that was mentioned by Rich. I also participated in the GFX and the Growth Factory Accelerator in Rockland. I just am here to support Rich's presentation because having more resources local to Folsom would benefit our company. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cordell.
Okay, next will be Michael Curtin, who will be followed by Scott Rafferty.
Madam Mayor and City Council, great to see everybody. I'm a legacy member of the community. I've been here a long time. When I came here, there was only one police officer, and he only worked days. So it's changed a lot. Anyway, why I'm here is because I am involved, been involved with the startup communities for a long, long time. I met Rich, had the pleasure of meeting Rich in Elk Grove, Sacramento, and Rockland. And unfortunately, there were no resources here in Folsom. So when we were doing our startups, we had to go outside the city limits. And here's one thing I do know to follow up on what the good doctor said. One thing I do know is if we help people start here, they typically will stay here. And the city gets back their investment and their time and effort 20 times over. So I'm just here to support Richard and the rest of the Startup Folsom group. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Curtin.
Okay, next will be Scott Rafferty, who will be followed by Jacob Rangel.
Happy New Year. It's been some time since you've been briefed in closed session about your election litigation. So I'm here to report to you and to the public, you now have, as of this evening, a second lawsuit against your gerrymandered boundaries and your intentional discrimination against the Asian American community, as evidenced both by the gerrymandered boundaries that allowed Ms. Aquino to be elected without any real opposition, and will drive off the only Asian American candidate of choice ever elected by Folsom. This is not what the people of Folsom want. You got a petition from 330 citizens who signed something with a big blue donkey, but if you look, 40% of them were not Democrats. And they were from every segment of your community. And one thing I can tell you from experience in a number of jurisdictions is that even people who detest district elections and are repelled by the entire idea do not like to see incumbents gerrymander their way around it, let alone an incumbent who would misrepresent his residence and claim to be living on a cement slab with no water or electricity. This is not what Folsom should be about. This is not what your constituents want. And you are now facing mounting legal fees, because it's not just me anymore. And you haven't heard this from your counsel because you haven't had a closed session discussion, but you've now asked for an extension. You've hired you got another attorney, and his 300-plus attorney law firm has asked for a 30-day extension on the federal lawsuit. It's not going away. And every day you are costing the city thousands of dollars because you are fighting a losing battle, a battle with your own voters. And it should stop. It's not what Folsom should be about. 3 years ago, you drove off an independent Mr. Gaylord on the sketchiest of grounds. But now you tolerate someone who is openly living someplace that is outside his district. So please, and then, Mayor, you didn't tell the county in time when they could have changed the ballots about about Mr. Kozlowski's collection of signatures, which he did not submit to the registrar, and you drove off the Democrat, but you did nothing about Mr. Kozlowski, who was equally at fault.
Mr. Rafferty, I do need you to, your time is up. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rafferty.
Okay, our next speaker will be Jacob Rangel, who will be followed by Robert Dresser.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for your time. I'm a new member in Folsom. I've moved here about 2 years ago during the great pandemic wave of March 2021. And from the Bay Area, I was a tech worker, and I was having a rough time. So when I found Granite City, it was like kind of life-changing. I found a community there that had a tech community background. There was people that did startups there, and it really helped me like get back into the right mindset and land a great job and be able to stay a member of this great community. And what I want to do tonight is just put my support behind Rich and Kyle for what they're asking for. I think that Folsom is a very special place, as I've come to learn. The people that I've worked with down in the historic district at the Granite City Co-working, they're big thinkers, and there's a lot of opportunity. I think that if we could get an incubator going here, it's an opportune time because there's going to be a wave of more tech layoffs, but we have a lot of great talent locally. And I think that's a way to help keep some of it from Intel, et cetera. There's also new opportunities coming up with new technology like I've never seen before. And I think that we have the mentorship there is an infrastructure down in historic Folsom with part of what Kyle's built, and there's other businesses to support it. So if there was an incubator and some funding for actual tech representation and some seed money to help local entrepreneurs just get started, I think that we would see things flourish even more than they already have. Since I've been here in the last 2 years, I've seen multiple partnerships start up and go on to success within that co-working community, as well as new relationships and opportunities emerge. So I hope that you really consider funding more of a tech presence in an incubator form, and that could extend for, it could involve the prison, it could involve high school. There's like a lot of interesting like elements of Folsom where you could leverage that and really be like a North Star and almost like a gold mine, Silicon Valley, as I see it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker will be Robert Dresser, who will be followed by That'll be our last speaker.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to appear. Happy and healthful New Year to everybody. I've been a Folsom resident about 7 years, a member of the Folsom Area Democratic Club. My son and his family are also members, residents of Folsom. I think the city council has a chance to save some substantial sums of money. When the petition that Mr. Rafferty mentioned was filed about 3 years ago, there was no action to have by-district elections, even though a lot of the people who signed it were from various parties, and not just Democrats. And then a lawsuit was filed by Mr. Rafferty, and he prevailed, or the lawsuit prevailed, and the city, in the sense that the city council did vote to have by-district elections. In fact, we just had one, and I think we survived pretty well this last November. And yet, for whatever reason, the city council has chosen to allocate a lot of funds to keep fighting. My understanding is under the California Voting Rights Act that once a jurisdiction has said, no, we're not going to do it, a lawsuit's filed, and then for whatever reason the jurisdiction votes to have by-district elections, then reasonable attorney fees are paid. And there's some opportunity to make sure that the new districts are fair. And so I would just respectfully request to the city council that you consider the conservation of city resources and consider a reasonable settlement. I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Dresser.
Okay, I started to call Ian Cornell, but he's here to speak on a consent item, so we'll get to you in a minute. Thanks. That is your final request to speak this evening under business from the floor.
Okay, will the clerk please call the next item?
That does move us to our consent calendar this evening, and as I just indicated, you have one request from the members of the public to pull item 6 for comment.
I'd like to pull item number 2, please.
Okay. Any other items to pull? Or I will entertain a motion.
I'll move items 1, 3, 4, 5, and 7 through 12.
I'll second that.
Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Council members Aquino?
Yes.
Chalem Chella?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
Rohrbaugh?
Yes.
And Rodriguez?
Yes.
Okay, item number 2 is approval of the December 13, 2022 special and regular meeting minutes.
Yeah, I pulled this. We got communication earlier in the day from Mr. Bob Delp, and he pointed out that he thought that the actual meeting minutes themselves should memorialize in some way the conversation that was had between myself and the city attorney vis-a-vis AB 2097. While I absolutely want to make sure that our commentary between the city attorney and I is not forgotten by the staff, it is not our normal course of action to record specific conversations in our meeting minutes. And maybe the clerk could just remind us of what those rules are, because it's worthwhile for everybody to know why they are the way they are.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Certainly, council member, thank you. So just as a bit of background, in 2001, the city council transitioned to what is called action minutes. So rather than summarizing conversations, just the action is recorded. And the reason for that was essentially twofold. One, the council was looking for some efficiency in staff production, but also the idea that summarizing minutes, you never can truly capture either the complexities or really the nuances of council conversations. And it was felt that the video and audio recordings would really provide the truest and fullest account of conversations during a council meeting. And in fact, to support that, as part of the transition to the action minutes, the videos are declared the official record of city council meetings, and that's actually reflected on our records retention schedule. So the videos are kept permanently as the true and complete record.
Thank you very much.
that answer
So,
your question?
so while I appreciate Mr. Delp's interest in memorializing that conversation, because I feel very passionately about that topic, I am confident that the city attorney and the city manager understand where I stand on that one. So with that, I will move item number 2.
I'll second.
Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Council members Aquino?
Yes.
Chalem Chella?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
Rohrbaugh?
Yes.
And Rodriguez?
Yes.
Okay, and item number 6 is resolution number 10968. This is a resolution rejecting all submitted bids for the Court and Steel sign manufacturing and installation project within the Willow Creek Estates South for the city of Folsom. This item is pulled at the request of Ian Cornell. Come on down.
Welcome, Mr.
Thank you very
Cornell.
much. I hope I took some notes from Ravi to learn how to speak in front of the city council tonight, so appreciate that good work, Ravi. Mayor Rodriguez, Vice Mayor Chalem Churla, and esteemed members of the Folsom City Council, it's a pleasure to be here in front of you this evening as your appointee to the Landscaping and Lighting Advisory District Advisory Committee for Willow Creek Estates South, which is commonly known as Lexington Hills. First of all, as far as goes Landscaping and Lighting Advisory Committee, we get a lot of support and a lot of help from staff. Got to thank specifically Zach Paris on staff and City Parks. Jameson Larson are there, very supportive for our group. I'm asking you regarding Resolution 10968, let's not get confused here. I'm asking you to reject the resolution and accept the lowest bid. And the reason I don't want there to be any confusion is because that resolution asks for a rejection of the bids, and I want to make sure that I'm asking for a rejection of the resolution and acceptance of the bids. The basis for the resolution is that there's a little bit of confusion perhaps on the case of the bidders, the vendors who proposed. There was an addendum that would be attached to their proposal if they had had any questions regarding the proposal and the job. And 3 out of the 6 proposers did not attach and sign the addendum, which indicates there was probably confusion there. But I think the confusion was that they would have thought that if they had had a particular question themselves, they would have attached the addendum that answered their questions so city could know that their questions were answered. The fact is the addendum is fairly inconsequential. Anybody that had done a site visit out there to this, what we're talking about here is entry signs at Lexington Hills neighborhood, 16 different entry signs out there. And we started the process about 20 months ago with soliciting, inquiring with our residents, what kind of signs they want to have, what they want them to say. About 18 months ago, we started the design process, and about 15 months ago, we got approval on those designs, via polls with the residents. So the confusion is that we have these bidders, these vendors who are going to actually manufacture and install the signs now, and 3 out of the 6 were rejected because they did not have the signed addendum. As I mentioned, there's that confusion. The addendum itself, as I mentioned, is fairly inconsequential because if you paid a site visit within about no kidding, about 30 seconds, you would know, we'd have all the answers to the questions that were part of the addendum. The questions that were asked by a potential bidder were asked by a bidder from out of state who subsequently did not bid on the project either. So in a nutshell, the lowest bidder was $22,000 less than the second highest bidder. And I want to maintain that sanctity of the competitive bid process. I want to make sure that we can roll ahead, quite frankly, save my district $22,000. In the case where all it requires is a signature on an addendum. So I ask that you to maintain the sanctity of the competitive bid process and save us time, we're already well into this, and reject Resolution 10968 and accept the lowest bid and allow work to proceed. I've got 14 seconds over. I'm sorry.
That was about okay.
Good deal?
Thank you.
I'll be here for any questions.
Okay. So I'm going to direct this over to the city attorney for direction.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. As Mr. Cornell indicated, we have to preserve the sanctity of the city's bidding process because the city is required to have a bidding process that allows open and fair competition, open and fair. Because there were confusions pertaining to the city's requirements, some bidders may not see this as fair if we disregard part of the requirements that we specify that we require people to submit. And hence, it is my recommendation that the City Council does reject all bids. And we'll go out to rebid, and hopefully we'll get equally favorable bids the second time around. But we have to tighten up the process.
Okay. I will entertain a motion.
I have a question. Maybe this is for the Parks and Rec director or somebody, but in terms of if we do re-advertise this and ask for bids to be submitted again, how much time are we talking about before we can have this back in front of us for an approval?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council, Lorraine Pigioni, Parks and Rec Director. We would be able to get this back to you quite quickly. It'll be basically a rinse and repeat on this RFP, so we could probably get that out next week. So it'll probably be another 10 days to have it out, and then back to you probably in February.
Okay. And the defect here was?
Procedural.
Okay. Did anything materially change the scope of work in the addendum?
No, it did not.
Okay. If I'm of a mind to accept the bids, honestly, because I don't know, we created confusion on our own, and we're going to punish ourselves, and I'm going to suspect we actually aren't going to get as favorable bids on the second round.
So I just want to caution the council, that is an option for the council. The council decides, that's why you're on the city council. There is a risk if you do follow what Mr. Cornell is advocating of getting a bid protest. And in the event that we get a bid protest, everything stops. We have to follow another protocol to go through to vet the bid protest. And depending on the outcome, we may find ourselves in court. Everything stops until that is resolved. So it may actually not be as efficient as you might think by just bypass the process and award to the low bidder. We can fix the process, the error is ours, and we need to make sure that we have the ability to maintain the integrity of our RFP process to maintain that the bidders can rely on our form of open and fair competition to submit bids.
I might add to the council that one of the corrections that we see as an opportunity here is when we upload a bid package, rather than us uploading it, we direct the potential bidders to the CIP list, which is a house for accepting all the proposals. So it's a free process. They go on, register, and then anytime there is an addendum or a change, they will get alerted to the fact. So that would be how our department's going to do it, and certainly I know some of the other departments are doing that as well. But I think consistency throughout would be a great safeguard to make sure that a bidder is aware of any changes.
Thank you.
So I have to say that I'm with Councilmember Kozlowski on this one. I am inclined to reject the resolution and award the contract to the lowest bidder. So I'm going to make a motion to do just that.
Was that your motion?
Yes.
Second.
Oh, sorry. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Council members Aquino,
Yes.
Chalem Chella,
I'm going to make a comment here. My vote is no. The reason, we do have some processes. I do see it. I think this is the first time in 24 months I'm seeing that an addendum is missing also to the 50% of the bidders. Protest is a big thing. I came from state and I worked extensively in procurement. Yes, is it a oversight from our side? We are not clear. Sorry, it's oversight from the three bidders, or we are not clear enough, or this is the first time. A mistake is a mistake. I'm agreeing both sides because 50% of the bidders submitted their addendum with signatures. 50% did not. If no one else, then I'm with my colleagues here. So protest is a big thing as well. And we are going to open up the doors for the future of the procurement, and we are working in the procurement enhancements and streamlining. So hence, my vote is no. And as Parks Director Lorraine Pozzoni said, she's going to come back to us in 3 weeks to 4 weeks. And I do hear our resident commissioner or the director, yes, it's something missing there. That's why 50%, 50%. I love always somebody is giving me $20,000 less, believe me. And I have been fighting for that, the lowest bids and the best value as well. So I just want to give this explanation before I say no for this motion.
Councilmember Kozlowski,
Yes.
Rorba,
Yes.
and Rodriguez.
No.
Okay, the motion passes 3-2.
Okay. And that was it. All right, will the clerk please call the next item?
Yeah,
But I like the $20,000 less though, for sure. Believe me.
Okay, that takes us to your first new business item. This is new business item number 13. This is the at-large appointments to the various city commissions and committees.
Okay.
And just for a quick background, for any of you who are not familiar with it, for most of our commissions and committees, they're comprised of 7 members. 5 are directly appointed by the council member, and those members serve a term concurrent with the council member. And then the remaining 2 members are appointed as at-large members by the entire city council, and they serve for 2 years. So this year, we're going to do it, normally we go alphabetical order. This year, we're going to do it based on the commissions that had the most applications, and then we'll transition through. So first is going to be the Planning Commission. And the way we do this here is each of the council members has a ballot that they will complete and pass down to me. But before we get into that piece of it, you did have one request to speak on this item, Madam Mayor, from Ravi Cologne.
Good evening. Thank you, council members and Madam Mayor. My name is Robbie Kalon. I've been here for 20 years. I am a graduate of Roseville High School. I was born and raised in California. I'm a daughter of a farmer. We farmed the state of California. We were invited here in the 1920s. And so we've been farming all up in Sutter County and the San Joaquin County. I was fortunate enough to be able to come to Roseville and go to Roseville High School after we left farming. And I've been in Folsom for the past 20 years. And it's been an amazing experience for me because we used to have the cattle drive here, and it felt like home. Being in the ranches, driving tractors, picking peaches, orchards was kind of what my life was. After that, I went on to UC Davis and then have ended up going into politics. I was with Senator Cox when he was senator there, and I was a staffer at that time. And I've been here. I ended up retiring from the legislature and then ended up going into the trades in construction. So that has been my other life, and being a mom to 3 boys, 10, 7, and 5. They were here earlier but got a little antsy and had to be picked up. But other than that, I was applying for the at-large Planning Commission. I've been kind of struggling with what to do with my political side and my construction side and how to bridge that gap. I've done a lot of work in construction in the last 10 years. I can put in windows and deal with easements and code enforcements and permitting and all that. I've been involved in that pretty heavily. But I would like for you to consider my appointment as the at-large Planning Commissioner, if that's available to me. If it isn't, I think this whole process has been amazing. I've got to meet some amazing council members. I've been able to interact with them via email. I've got to meet some of you guys personally. But it really made me think about who I want to be and where I want to be and what my purpose in life is. At this point, I'm just trying to figure out where I want to land. One of the places I thought about was Planning Commissioner would be a good spot for me. Other than that, I've been able to meet a lot of people, a lot of churches, a lot of community members, reconnect. And I'm really excited to be here. I'm really excited to be part of this city, and I really hope you will consider my application. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kalan. Okay.
Okay, you have no further requests to speak on this item, and so we would move to voting. So if I can have each of you complete your ballot for the Planning Commission and at least put your initials on it and then send it down to me, please.
So just a clarification, her
clarification.
name is not on this ballot, correct? So if we want it, you would have to write it.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to clarify.
Yes. And also, Daniel West has been appointed as Councilmember Kozlowski's direct appointment. So you can cross off Daniel West and add Ravi Kalon.
Oh, Ravi.
Did you already hand them to her?
Oh, add?
So just for clarification, so Ms. Kalon did not submit her application before the deadline.
That's right,
And so we're adding her on to this list.
out of courtesy.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So we're going to mark two people for two at large,
Yes,
right?
please.
Thank you for signature.
All right, so Councilmember Aquino votes for Justin Rathel and Bill Romanelli. Vice Mayor Chalem Cherla votes for James Ortega and Bill Romanelli. Mayor Rodriguez votes for James Ortega and Bill Romanelli. Councilmember Rohrbaugh votes for James Ortega and Bill Romanelli. And Councilmember Kozlowski votes for Justin Rathel and Bill Romanelli. So it looks like 3 votes for James Ortega and 5 for Bill Romanelli. So we're good. So those are your 2 at-large appointees to the Planning Commission.
Okay. Next is,
Okay, next will be the Parks and Rec Commission.
Madam Mayor, I wonder if we could have a little bit of dialogue about this commission before we vote.
Yeah, and if you'll mark off Lydia Matt Hedges, that is Councilmember Kozlowski's direct appointee.
I just want to make a request of my colleagues, if you don't mind. So as you may be aware, Will Kempton was my appointee, my direct appointee for the past 4 years. He let me know a couple months ago that he was not going to reapply. When he let me know that, he recommended that I appoint Brian Wallace as my direct appointment. Brian has been on the commission for a few years now. He served as vice chair the past 2 years, and of course, we're losing Will, the longest-standing Parks Commissioner, and then losing Dave Nasworth, who has served as chair the past 2 years. Because I think Brian Wallace is a superb commissioner and an even better human being, I agreed with Will's suggestion. But when I looked at all of these applications that came in, I realized there is nobody from Council District 3, my district, already on this commission. I think what's most important to note is that over the next 20 years, almost every single park that gets built in the city is going to be built in Council District 3, starting with Prospector Park and then Benevento Park and every park south of 50. So I am going to make a request of my colleagues to support a member from District 3 to be an at-large appointment. The other option, and I called Brian and I kind of explained this predicament and he understood, and I also said that perhaps we could put him as the at-large and I would appoint somebody directly to District 3, since you all know Brian pretty well. But I'm going to start with, my first request would be to support Bill Davis, listed as William Davis there. He is about the same age as Will Kempton. I just met him for the first time last week. I think he represents a demographic that we need on the Parks and Rec Commission, kind of that senior community. He is very involved with his grandkids who live here in Folsom. Plus, he has a really interesting background. He's retired now, but he does have a recreation background, particularly using recreation as a way to connect with at-risk youth and homeless youth. And so that is my request for you, that you join me in supporting Bill Davis so that we make sure that Council District 3 is represented on this commission. Thank you.
Lydia, you'll also want to line out James Ortega as he's been appointed to the Planning Commission. There you go. Thank you.
I just want to make one comment. I think city attorney, I just want to get that clarity for everybody. These appointments are not based on districts, but I certainly hear, I live in her district, I love District 3, right? So, but I just want that clarification to everyone, audience. We probably may know 5 of the council members. Please, if you don't mind, can you share?
I don't mind at all. Honorable Vice Mayor, you are absolutely correct. Those commission appointees are not district specific. They can be made citywide.
Thank you, sir.
Just put him down.
If there's no additional discussion, I'll take ballots when you're ready. Okay. So Vice Mayor Chalam-Cherla votes for Samantha Davidson and William Davis. Councilmember Aquino votes for Samantha Davidson and William Davis. Councilmember Kozlowski votes for Samantha Davidson and William Davis. Councilmember Rohrbaugh votes for Samantha Davidson and Bhaskar Vempati. And Mayor Rodriguez votes for Samantha Davidson and Bhaskar Vempati. So Samantha Davidson and William Davis are appointed as at-large members to the Parks and Rec Commission.
Okay.
Okay. No. Okay, that will move us to the Utility Commission. And if there's no comments, I'll take ballots when you're ready. Okay, Councilmember Aquino votes for Mel Knight and Mark Menz. Vice Mayor Chalam-Cherla votes for Mark Menz and Bhaskar Vempati. Councilmember Rohrbaugh votes for Mark Menz and Bhaskar Vempati. Councilmember Kozlowski votes for Craig Daniel and Ginger Liu. And Mayor Rodriguez votes for Craig Daniel and Mark Menz.
And in the past, we have made changes, correct? So Bhaskar Vempati has a very impressive resume, and he didn't make it onto the park, so is it okay to change it?
Are you going to change your vote?
You can change your vote.
Okay. I will change my vote from Craig Daniel to Bhaskar Vempati.
just for the record, I was going to do that also. I voted for two of the four people from District 1 in this instance, so I'm very happy that Bhaskar is part of that group. So.
Okay. Okay, so you can take one vote away from Craig Daniel and add it to Bhaskar Vampati, please. Okay, and that would mean that Mark Menz and Bhaskar Vampati are appointed to the Utility Commission. Okay. Which one? Okay, that will move us to the Library Commission. And on that ballot, again, Julie Moore will be struck because Councilmember Kozlowski has named her as his direct appointment.
Oh, wait, library or
Library.
traffic?
Library, I'm sorry, library.
I'm not ready for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know where it is. Hold on.
That's okay, we'll give you a minute.
There it is.
Okay, so Councilmember Rohrbaugh votes for Catherine Alleman and Fang Zhu. Vice Mayor Chalem-Chierla votes for Catherine Alleman and Fang Zhu. Councilmember Aquino votes for Catherine Alleman and Ron Bird. Mayor Rodriguez votes for Catherine Alleman and Fang Zhu. And Councilmember Kozlowski votes for Ron Bird and Tyler Johnstone. So Catherine Alleman and Fang Zhu are appointed. Okay, next will be Arts and Culture Commission. And on this one, you'll strike Bhaskar Vampati because he has been appointed. Okay, Vice Mayor Chalem-Chierla votes for Mark Alleman and Lucinda Winward. Councilmember Aquino votes for Mark Alleman and Lucinda Winward. Councilmember Rohrbaugh votes for Albina Suarez Ojeres and Lucinda Winward. Councilmember Kozlowski votes for Lisa Magon and Lucinda Winward. And Mayor Rodriguez votes for Mark Alleman and Lucinda Winward. Okay, so Lucinda Winward and Mark Alleman are appointed. Okay, that takes us to Traffic Safety Committee.
If somebody appears on the top and the bottom of the ballot, how do you want us to handle that? Because those are distinct positions, right?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll notice this ballot looks a little bit different, and that's because this committee has specialized qualifications to serve. Okay, Councilmember Aquino on the citizen representative side votes for Scott Bailey and Kevin Goddard. And on the pedestrian bicycle side votes for Joanne Brosh. Vice Mayor Chalem Chierla on the citizens representative seats votes for Scott Bailey and Kevin Goddard. And on the pedestrian bicycle for Joanne Brosh. Mayor Rodriguez on the citizen seat votes for Scott Bailey and Mike Edwards. And on the pedestrian bicycle for Joanne Brosh. Councilmember Kozlowski on the citizen rep seat votes for Jeff Mann and Bob Parkins. And on the pedestrian side votes for, we have a first and an alternate, first and a second.
Joanne Broush, please.
Joanne Broush.
That's tricky.
Councilmember Rohrbaugh votes for the citizen rep seat for Scott Bailey and Kevin Goddard. And on the pedestrian bicycle for Joanne Brosh. Okay, so it looks like we have Scott Bailey, Kevin Goddard, and Joanne Brosh. Okay. 2 more to go. Next is the L&L Advisory Committee. Again, this ballot looks a little bit different because each of these seats are specialized. In order to serve on this committee representing that district, you have to live within that district. So you'll see for several of them, we only had 1 applicant. You will strike Kevin Goddard under Natoma Station as he has just been appointed to traffic safety. You should have struck James Ortega if you haven't done so already. He's under Natoma Station as well. The others remain eligible. Thank you. Okay. Can I send this back to him? He missed, there's didn't vote for 1. Oh, that's why case.
Oh, that's why case.
Sorry, we missed 1 vote here.
Thought I'd mark it up for you. Sorry, I thought it was mine.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, so to summarize this, for the districts that only have 1 application, all have been unanimously appointed. So Edward Myers, Joshua Baker, Dinah Collins, Tim O'Leary, and Joanna Stanfield are all appointed. So we'll address the Natoma Station. Vice Mayor Chalem Chierla votes for Joe Marceau. Councilmember Aquino votes for Joe Marceau. Mayor Rodriguez votes for Joe Marceau. Councilmember Kozlowski votes for Joe Marceau. And Councilmember Rohrbaugh votes for Joe Marceau. Okay. Our final commission to appoint tonight is the Historic District Commission. This ballot gets even more interesting. You have 2 seats for the Historic District Commission that are planning commissioners. Typically, the Planning Commission has nominated their own representatives to the Historic District Commission, and then those nominations come back to the City Council for affirmation. So if your council agrees, you will skip over the Planning Commission appointments tonight, and we'll just deal with the Architect Landscape seat and the Business Rep outside Sutter Street seat.
That's fine with me.
Okay. Okay. And typically, you can expect to see those nominations come back to you either on January 24th or February 14th, depending on when the Planning Commission meets next. And as we had no applicants for the Architect Landscape seat, we will re-advertise that and continue to hold the seat open until applications are received. So again, to summarize, I will say that we had a unanimous appointment of John Feltz representing as the business rep outside Sutter Street. So that concludes the appointments tonight. We'll be reaching out to the applicants tomorrow or the next day to confirm appointments so those commissions can get to work.
Excellent. Okay, well, will the clerk please call the next item?
Certainly, you're.
So sorry. Can I make one comment, please? Yeah. I know usually, Sarah emphasizes this. I want to, co-emphasize. It's very hard to pick all the talent we have received for appropriate roles. On the same time, we want to sincerely thank you for putting your name for service. I was just counting on the lighting and landscaping district. 13 districts are vacant. 3 are vacant right now. We really, if you are living in the districts, please consider and continue your heart of serving Folsom. I just want to emphasize that one once again. And for all the winners, congratulations. People who are not picked, please don't think otherwise. We have more opportunities in city to help us. Once again, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Chalem-Churla.
May I comment also?
Yes.
Yeah, just to emphasize that one step further, there are a tremendous number of highly qualified people for each and every one of these commission seats. It is, as YK said, very difficult to kind of split the baby up. But I will encourage you that anybody who wasn't appointed, all of these commissions have open meetings, and their agendas and their packets are public knowledge. You should remain involved in the ones that you're interested in. Go to the meetings, read the packets for each of the commissions, and comment. Be an active participant in those discussions. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. And having served on the Utility Commission prior to my city council service, I can tell you a shocking number of people do not come to the Utility Commission meetings. And it affects every single one of us in our water and sewer and trash rates, generally speaking. So it's an important piece of business that we handle every single month. So at the very least, go visit the Utility Commission and see what's going on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Kozlowski.
Okay, your next item this evening, as announced by the mayor earlier this evening, we are flip-flopping the order of number 14 and 15. So next will be item 15. This is report on traffic roundabout fact-finding mission and direction to staff regarding future consideration of a traffic roundabout policy.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I'm Mark Rakoven, your Public Works Director. This evening we have what I hope will be a informative presentation on a summary of a trip that my staff and our consultant team recently took to several different communities throughout the country to look into their roundabout experiences. To provide you with some additional education and information about the benefits and challenges associated with the use of roundabouts as a traffic control device, and then to perhaps start a framework for a potential policy should the council desire to start incorporating roundabouts into our transportation network. This all started back in last year in June when Council members Aquino and then Council member, now Vice Mayor Chalem-Churla, joined the city manager and staff on a tour of Rockland and Lincoln to look at roundabouts that they have constructed. This is a picture at the top of 2 existing roundabouts that we reviewed with Rockland staff and discussed their experiences. They found that they are working extremely well in terms of moving traffic on Rockland Road between Pacific Street and Interstate 80. They've actually seen a reduction in the overall speeds on that corridor, which they attribute to the presence of the roundabouts. We also saw under construction the future roundabout at the intersection of Pacific and Rockland Road, which is shown in the rendering at the bottom. This is it's a really good rendering, but that is not a photograph. Last check, I think it was still under construction. They did face a number of challenges with the phasing of that construction and still trying to keep traffic moving. But as you can see, it looks like it'll fit very well into that environment and create that third roundabout on the Rockland Road corridor. This is a roundabout on East Joyner Parkway in Lincoln. This was both the introduction of a roundabout at this intersection, the widening of East Joyner Parkway as well, and just up in the upper left corner of this photo, you can't see it, but that driveway up there is the entrance to the new 12 Bridges High School. So this is a roundabout that is just outside of high school. Great experience for all those new drivers. And this is in the new growth area up there in Lincoln. After this tour of local roundabouts, I think we were compelled to want to find out more from some communities that were much further into the application of roundabouts in their communities. And so with the assistance of our colleagues at Kimley Horn Associates, Matt Weir, who's with us here this evening, and Sean Hauk, who unfortunately couldn't join us, they helped us cobble together a road trip that started us here in Folsom. We went over to Colorado, where we visited 3 communities. And then after 2 days in Colorado, we spent another couple days in Indiana, going to Whitestown, and kind of the star of the attraction was Carmel, Indiana. There's a picture of our intrepid team. We did manage to get in a very quick visit to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and quickly, and that's us at the finish line. We quickly determined that's not the type of roundabout that you're interested in. But yeah, we did visit these 5 different communities in 2 states in 4 days, so it was a real whirlwind trip for us. So just the 2 primary comparisons to Folsom were Loveland, Colorado, which is north of Denver, and Carmel, Indiana, which is a suburb of Indianapolis. You'll see that Loveland is almost a carbon copy of Folsom in terms of its size and its population. They do still have 100 traffic signals. They have added 60 roundabouts, primarily in their new growth areas, but they are also in the process of retrofitting. They have had a number of different experiences. It has been a learning process for them as well. Some of their older roundabouts, they kind of cringe when they talk about them, but they learned and adapted and improved. And some of their newer roundabouts are really top-notch and move a lot of traffic very safely. Carmel is the primary reason we went on this trip. This is a community that is roughly in size to Roseville, California, although Roseville has a higher population density. But it is, again, a growing suburb of Indianapolis. It has a different structure than Folsom. They have the strong mayor structure, where the mayor is elected, essentially runs the city departments. He is Mr. Brainerd, or Mayor Brainerd, has actually been serving that community since the mid-90s, and he's just now completing his 7th and what he says will be his final term representing that city. But I don't think it's unfair to say that he has transformed that community. It is his vision, supported by the staff that he chose, and the community has supported him in the development of the redevelopment of an old community, bringing in new businesses. We saw several new parking garages being built. We saw the 147 roundabouts, got stopped at 2 of their 9 traffic signals. So it is a very different experience than what we experience here in Folsom and some of our neighboring communities. And to that point, this is a quick example of the trip that we took with their city staff during the evening or the afternoon rush hour. Brad Peace from their engineering division drove us around. So as you would imagine, each of the green rotaries is a roundabout that we drove through. You can see the 2 traffic signals, which were the only 2 times we actually had to stop and wait for traffic. This was about a 16.5-mile loop. It also included trips through 6 interchanges. We went through 1 interchange twice, but those were also roundabout controlled. Very unique experience in that even at the intersections where there was queuing because of rush hour traffic, the largest queue that I could recall was 6 vehicles waiting to get into a roundabout. It only took about 15 to 20 seconds for us to get to the head of the queue, and we very quickly entered and cleared that intersection. So it vastly different than what you see with the operation of a major intersection like a 4 or 6 lane arterial. By comparison, that same route would be about analogous to this route through Folsom. This is a 17-mile route that we just arbitrarily came up with. And here's all the traffic controls that you would go through on that route. So this is about 58 or 59 traffic control devices, a few stop signs, mostly traffic signals. We do have coordination on some of these corridors. We're working on future coordination on others. But can you imagine driving this route and, how many times would you be affected by a traffic signal? There are the stop signs up there. It is a vastly different experience than the one I'm trying to convey that we experienced in a community like Carmel. And again, here's the comparison, 48 controlled intersections, only 2 of which were roundabouts in Carmel versus 53 signals and 5 all-way stops to meet roughly the same route. So it is a different experience. With that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Mr. Weir from Kimley Horn. He's going to go into a little bit more of the science of the roundabouts and the benefits and the challenges, and then I'll be back up later along with Mr. Bosch to finish up the presentation.
Thank you, Mark.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm Matt Weir with Kimley Horn and Associates. I'm a registered civil and traffic engineer. Mark is also a registered civil engineer, but I think the traffic engineer kind of one-ups him, so listen more closely to me than you did to Mark. As evident by us standing before you tonight talking about roundabouts, it's clear that they're gaining acceptance. And this is supposed to be, there, it's animating on the right. Really an interesting look at just the growth of the use of roundabouts, and in particular, modern roundabouts in the United States. And really what we're finding and what is being well documented is the ability of a modern roundabout to accomplish some really key outcomes. Reducing vehicular speeds, you heard Mark mention that the city of Rockland has indeed experienced that. Reducing the number and severity of collisions, reducing vehicle emissions, and a really important item is providing a safer environment for pedestrians and bicycles, so the non-motorized users. And in fact, as you'll see in a few slides, modern roundabouts oftentimes have a lower long-term cost when compared to traditional intersection traffic control like a traffic signal. Okay, so a little bit of education here. A modern roundabout, not to be confused with a small traffic circle that you may see in a neighborhood. These are modern roundabouts that have these features, and these are the elements, or these are the traffic control devices that we are referring to in this discussion. So what does a modern roundabout have? Well, it has yield control at the entries. It has one-way counterclockwise flow. And really what distinguishes the modern roundabout is that it uses pavement markings and oftentimes raised medians or islands to channelize or deflect vehicles. And by channelizing or deflecting vehicles, you can therefore control their speed. Once you can control the speed, you can do a lot of really great things with a roundabout, and you'll hear those here in just a moment. Okay, so why do roundabouts work well? Well, as I just mentioned, cars entering must yield to other vehicles that are already in the circle. So you have a reduced speed, and you have a vehicle that has to yield the right-of-way to a vehicle already in the circle. With all the vehicles traveling in the same direction, we get rid of head-on collisions, and more importantly, we get rid of, or equally as importantly, we get rid of left turn movements, which are one of the more dangerous movements at a traditional intersection. And then an element that takes, that I'm sure you realize, but when put in this context, it's really valuable. When you get rid of the traffic signal indications that are above the driver, above the road, and the driver's eyes come down to road level, you also increase the awareness and the visibility of bikes, pedestrians, and other non-motorized users of the facility. And then when collisions do occur, you see there on the right side, they're often sideswipe, lower speed, less severity. You might find this to be initially counterintuitive, that being the relationship between speed and emissions. But as you can see on this graph, the underlying graphic shows the relationship between average vehicle speed and the amount of emissions. So the point of this graphic is to show that while there may be a higher average speed gained through the use of roundabouts, and I'll clarify this in a minute, it's that higher average speed compared to the starting and stopping associated with stop and go traffic control, which is what you call traffic signal control, that realizes the reduction in emissions. So a roundabout will have the effect of increasing average speed, but it's important to compare that to a traditional traffic signal, and I'm sure we all experience it when you approach it and enter the intersection on green. You're oftentimes traveling at a high rate of speed. So you have the peaks and the valleys of traffic signal control. You have those very high speeds, or can have them when a vehicle does enter on green, whereas with a roundabout you have more controlled and a more average or more common or typical speed at that intersection. Okay, so I mentioned it a second ago, bringing the driver's eyes down to the road level. So this is we were joking about the age of the graphic here, but it gets the point across really well. At a high rate of speed, the driver has to focus more specifically at the area in front of them, the direction they're traveling. At a lower speed, you have a little more freedom to allow your eyes to pan. So by doing that at a lower speed, a controlled speed, you may argue, you have greater visibility. And a reminder that the roundabout achieves lower speed or a desirable speed through the striping and the raised devices. So therefore, the deflection in the speed control presumably then equates to lower speeds and better visibility, as shown here. And then to really reinforce the safety element here, this is data actually that's sourced from Federal Highway Administration that, as you might expect, lower speeds, when there is a vehicle-pedestrian collision, you have a much higher probability of survival at the lower speed than you do a higher speed. You can tie to this graphic the visibility that I just spoke about. And then the contrast, the point to really make is on a signal. We're really talking about that one vehicle occasionally that flies through the intersection at a high rate of speed on green. That is in contrast to a more controlled speed via the roundabout. Now, this is a place to interject. It does sound all rosy. There are some challenges and limitations with roundabouts, and on this fact-finding mission, we did hear two important points that are worth noting in the context of safety for bicycles and pedestrians. So the mayor of Carmel, with all of their roundabout use, when asked what were some of the lessons learned or challenges, he went straight to the fact that the visually impaired members of the community frankly had to learn a new way to cross the road. So with a traffic signal, users are accustomed to and have been encouraged to use the push buttons and listen to the audible cues that are now becoming very common. Those don't exist at all or many roundabouts. While you may have crosswalks that are in advance of roundabouts that have similar features, most of them do not. So that was an interesting soundbite from the mayor of Carmel. And then if you're thinking through this, the use of bicycles, you actually, current design standards do not allow you to stripe a bike lane within the circulating roadway. So because of that, if you're a bicycle in the approaching roadway, you either have to take the lane, which may be for the more aggressive or comfortable drivers, or oftentimes slip ramps are provided to allow the bicycle to join the pedestrians on the adjacent sidewalk. So just two important points on bikes and pedestrians to note here. Okay, and then really more about highlighting roundabout benefits. This, we took probably 10 slides and condensed them down to one, and I know it's a lot of text, but really want to call your attention to 3 of the rows in this table. So on vehicle and driver safety, really contrasting the performance of roundabouts and signals, and you can see it's well documented, and as I mentioned, roundabouts reduce or in a lot of cases eliminate high-speed crashes and reduce overall fatalities and injuries significantly. And we saw it on an early graphic. There are a lot of conflict points with the traditional intersection where you have the conflicting left turns in particular. Cost and sustainability. Well, if everything is the same and you're in a greenfield, a new area, and you're comparing the cost to install a roundabout or a signal, oftentimes you'll find that the roundabout is less expensive. Now there's a lot of caveats in that phrase I just used because it's a greenfield environment, but we may touch on some of that later in the presentation. And I hinted at it, traffic signals increase fuel consumption and emissions due to the stop and go nature of traffic signal control. And then lastly, traffic capacity. These are really, I think they're really neat points. Roundabout provides equal priority for all 4 approaches. On a signalized corridor, a lot of the complaints that a traffic engineer receives from a community is oftentimes from vehicles on the side street that are not given the priority. Oftentimes the main street, the arterial that has progression on the signals is given a lot of green time. Therefore, the users on the side street oftentimes have to wait. So a roundabout kind of addresses that disconnect and really prioritizes all approaches equally. There is a standard process by which roundabouts are compared against traffic signals. The city of Folsom actually has prepared a couple years ago a citywide intersection control evaluation. The acronym is ICE. It's a standard Caltrans directive, actually. It's a standard process followed in California. And the purpose of this graphic is to just show you that when you do an ICE, or when you compare, oftentimes it comes down to a roundabout versus a signal, you oftentimes are focusing on the comparative benefits of safety, delay, and the emissions reductions against the cost, not only to install or construct, but it's the long-term operations and maintenance. And to reinforce the long-term, and this happens to be the before and after of the East Joyner Parkway roundabout in Lincoln that Mark showed you earlier. This simple graphic in the top right is not specific to that project. It's a generalization to make this simple point that oftentimes in redevelopment cases, a roundabout may cost more to construct, but as you can see over time, it can cost significantly less. And the slopes and shapes of these lines vary based on each individual location, but this relationship generally holds true. And what we're showing here is it's in the 10 to 12 to 15 year range that we oftentimes will see those lines cross. Not always, but generally speaking. Okay, and then, not so generally speaking, back to the East Joyner Parkway roundabout in Lincoln. So these are actual benefit metrics that were generated by completing an ICE, which compared roundabout and traffic signal control at this location, and therefore accounted for all of the unique aspects of this location, which it had its own, it certainly had its share of challenges that definitely skew some of the cost metrics. But really, we added this because it's important. These are really meaningful benefits that came out of the evaluation comparing a roundabout to a traffic signal. I'll just skim them. Nearly 2.5 times less likely to have an injury accident, nearly 60% reduction in traffic delay, and over 50% reduction in operation and maintenance costs compared to a traffic signal. And that's what you saw in the previous graph where the lines crossed at about year 10, and over time the roundabout was cheaper to operate, or a cheaper investment. Okay, and then lastly, before it comes back to Mark, what we often hear, almost always hear, is that roundabouts are not safe and you should never use them near schools. It's very common. There is a misconception that they are chaotic and that they create an unsafe environment for school-age children and all of the dynamics that happen adjacent to schools in their traditional or typical activities. This is an actual photo of the Barden Road corridor in Salinas. This is the Barden Elementary School on the left of this image. This is a pair of roundabouts, a roundabout corridor that my firm completed. And immediate and consistent feedback from the school was that it provided order and safety that they did not have pre-construction of the roundabouts. I wish I had the before and after, and it's a really good comparison because pre-roundabout you had a Y shape, you had a T intersection that came in at a weird angle, and you had a wide road. And without a median or fences, you had people going every which direction. So the roundabout was applauded for providing order and safety. And actually, because of the narrowing of the road, the crossing distances were shortened significantly, therefore increasing the safety. And with that.
Thank you, Matt. A couple of points I wanted to emphasize from Matt's portion of the presentation, particularly when we visited Golden, Colorado, which is a smaller community. I think they only had 17 roundabouts, but their staff member that we met with was a quote machine. He gave us the quote that the initial reaction from his community was to call these the circles of death, that they just said it's just going to create an accident history, they're terrible. And then that followed up with the quote that they hate them until they love them. His community has fully accepted the conversion of roundabouts, and they're begging for them in their neighborhoods. He also shared with us the phrase nerd gap, which had to do with the College of Mines, which is an engineering school just outside of Golden, where they had difficulty timing their crosswalk, the time for their crosswalks, because they have so many engineering students who tend to shy away from their co-ed students, and so it creates bigger gaps between the pedestrian flow. So yeah, he was a real treat to interact with. On the concept of collision severity and collision reduction, the fire chief in Carmel made the point that he can't remember the last time they had to use their jaws of life to extract someone from a severe crash. In fact, he stated that the only fatal collisions that they experience are DUIs, and those tend to be solo accidents where the driver just is not in control of the vehicle. I should also note that after our trip, Zach and I did go meet with Chief Cassano and his command team to discuss their feelings about roundabouts, our experiences talking to emergency services folks on our trip. I think it's fair to say that they are cautiously optimistic about the application of roundabouts in Folsom, that if they are designed in the manner that Matt described, that they can be used safely by emergency equipment with minimal or no effect on overall response times. And lastly, also an indirect benefit cost associated with roundabouts is because you are seeing fewer of these severe injuries, that's less time that your emergency services personnel are being called out to respond to a severe accident, or the police department to have to do a reconstruction of an accident scene. So again, you're getting some economy of the time for your other emergency services personnel.
That's a big one.
So, potential funding sources. It's very important that I point out, and you're all aware, we have a general plan. That general plan has a transportation element that decides what our road network is, how we're going to achieve mobility and accessibility on those roads. And that leads to a capital improvement program, which then determines our developer impact fees and things of that sort. Roundabouts are not in our current capital improvement program. They were not accounted for. And so our local funding sources to make conversions to roundabouts is severely limited. So we are in a position where we are going to have to rely heavily on outside funding sources, typically in the forms of grants. So where are we going to best likely get those grants? Well, the one local example that we can still achieve is south of 50 in the Folsom Ranch. We do still have a great portion of that area where we haven't constructed our arterial street system, where we haven't installed traffic signals. We do still have time to work with the developers to reimagine, particularly the Alder Creek Parkway corridor west of East Bidwell Street, the Prairie City Road corridor from Highway 50 down to the connector project, and Mangini Parkway, also to the west of East Bidwell. These are all major roads. Primarily, Alder Creek Parkway has a few traffic signals that are in the infrastructure plan out there. So the sooner we have guidance, the sooner we can go start working with the development community to see how that will all change. Another key phrase we picked up on during our trip is that roundabouts are wider nodes, intersections, but narrower roads, because you don't need to have the width of the road to account for left turn pockets or anything, or landscaping necessarily in your median. You can narrow down the width of the road, so you can narrow down your right-of-way needs, which opens up roadside opportunities for either additional development or open spaces or some other community aesthetic. And Zach is going to show an exhibit that hopefully drives home that point. But that is the one area where we do still have a great deal of local control and an opportunity to start introducing roundabouts. Outside of that, we are looking at grant funding. And I've listed this in probably our best order, our best chances of qualifying for grant funding. Safety is, of course, first and foremost. Where we can demonstrate that we have a history of collisions that can be corrected through the use of traffic controls, particularly roundabouts, we can qualify for Highway Safety Improvement Program funding, Safe Streets for All funding, and that is an area where we could conceivably see some of our first applications of roundabouts if that's the direction we're heading. Matt mentioned the air quality benefits of slower but sustained flow through a network of roundabouts versus the stop and go traffic of traffic signals. So there are air quality funding sources, sustainable community grants that we can qualify for at intersections where we can demonstrate that we either currently have congestion, delay, air quality issues, or where we foresee them happening in the future. One example that comes to mind for me is the intersection of Folsom Auburn Road at Folsom Lake Crossing. This is a very heavily traveled intersection, primarily in the afternoon peak, where that left turn coming down from Placer County to turn onto the Folsom Lake Crossing can extend back over a mile. That is significant delay, significant air quality issues. It's only expected to get worse. And we really can't widen our way out of that intersection. We can't widen and achieve our right level of service. So we're either gonna have to get creative and go vertical and start thinking about like ramps, or we could perhaps see if we can fit a roundabout in there with hopefully minimal right-of-way impacts. And that's something we'll have to explore further.
You've stopped entertaining the lake bridge?
What's that, sir?
The cut-across bridge, the floating bridge across the lake.
Yes, yeah, the pontoon boats. Yeah. Bike and ped is, of course, always first and foremost in the minds of a community like ours. There is the active transportation plan, both regional and state, that are available to us. Safe Routes to School is a funding source we probably all heard of that is now rolled in under ATP. So again, we can qualify for funding on that source. It has always been challenging for us because that's statewide competitive, and we tend to have a hard time competing statewide just because of the perception that we're a community that isn't in as urgent need as you know, some more disadvantaged communities throughout the state. And then lastly, community design, community development block grants for placemaking more. This is essentially what used to be our redevelopment, right? Redevelopment money is hard to come by now, but where we can demonstrate that we're making wholesale changes to an area, such as like the River District that we're going to be talking about, or the Central Business District, there could be some opportunities for funding assistance to help us to transform those communities. So I'm going to turn the presentation over to Mr. Bosch now to give a quick summary of what our current transportation system is looking like, where we're seeing potential future traffic control locations, and then he is going to touch on the feasibility of squeezing a roundabout in lieu of a major arterial.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council. My name is Zach Bosch, Senior Civil Engineer in the Traffic Division of the Public Works Department. As Mark stated, I'll try to go over kind of our existing traffic signal network, go over the density of the ones north of 50 as well as the ones planned and programmed south of 50. Currently, we have 109 traffic signals in the city. 13 more of them are being planned south of 50. 2 are actively in design right now. Each one of them requires manpower, time, resources to maintain and operate both the physical signal equipment that's in the field, as well as staff resources to keep them properly timed and moving efficiently through the city. You can obviously see this most recently with the storms. Sometimes the power goes out and we lose power and the signal goes dark, and ultimately the vehicle code states that it's transitions to a stop sign at that point. But you know, sometimes there's confusion around that. We also have times when the wind has blown this traffic signal heads around, so they're difficult to see. So obviously, all that equipment is out there needing to be maintained. So when we do look at locations where roundabouts are feasible, both in a retrofit as well in the greenfield development, we, as stated before, we want to look at the safety aspect first and foremost. Where are we seeing severe and fatal collisions that can be reduced with the installation of a roundabout? as well as potential locations where level of services will fall below the city policy level. And corridors that are coordinated are not really optimal locations for roundabouts. So East Bidwell corridor between Iron Point and Blue Ravine, Riley Street in the historic district, as well as Folsom Boulevard has its own challenges with light rail passing through and the preemption we get along Folsom Boulevard. So as stated before, we do see opportunities out there for existing locations to be retrofitted. East Natoma and Folsom Lake Crossing is a good location. Blue Ravine and Oak Avenue. They're all ideas that we had talked about during our trip, identified through a brainstorming session as potential locations. Iron Point Road is another good candidate from Folsom Boulevard out to East Bidwell, a road that's overbuilt, has additional lane capacity, additional right-of-way to retrofit roundabouts into those locations. And as Matt Weir stated before, we have performed an ICE evaluation. We keep an ongoing list of intersections that the Public Works Department maintains for traffic control. So whether that's a stop sign, left or right turn access control, traffic signal or roundabout, all those are evaluated. So a few years ago, we went through the process of evaluating the intersections you see on the screen here. And through that process, we had identified 6 locations where a roundabout was recommended as the appropriate traffic control device. Baldwin Dam and Oak Avenue Parkway, Broadstone Parkway at Serpa and at Scholar, Black Diamond and Iron Point, and as well as the Riley Street corridor. That's between Lemby and Glen Drive, kind of in between the post office and Kohl's and Dutch Bros out there. Very interesting corridor when you think about how roundabouts would fit in there and how access would be controlled, how left turns and right turns could be controlled a little bit more. I know there's a lot of confusion with the access in front of the post office, in front of Walmart. A lot of that could be.
That's a consideration of an entirely new intersection in that zone, not at Riley and East Bidwell at T intersection.
This Riley and Lemby would be.
No, I'm saying you're talking about doing one at a location between the post office and where Riley and East Bidwell tee up.
Yeah.
Or you're talking about at the T intersection by Sutter Middle School.
No, the corridor itself would be converted. So Lemby would have one, as well as the Glen Drive intersection would have one. So it would be bookended there.
Okay.
And then there would be median control. So if you needed to make a left turn out of Walmart or something like that, you would take a right to Glen and go around the roundabout and then go towards East Bidwell that way.
Gotcha.
That's the conceptual design.
Okay.
So in terms of future potential roundabouts south of 50 in the plan area, one of them came to mind right away, and that was the intersection of Rowberry Drive and Alder Creek Parkway. On your screen, you can see the traditional layout of a signalized intersection. And then following that would be, again, a conceptual layout of a roundabout. And this particular graphic actually includes the potential future BRT lane that would run down, actually considers the space needed to run a BRT lane in here, but.
Bus rapid transit.
Yeah, the bus rapid transit, sorry about that. But in this example, you could run that bus rapid transit in the mixed flow lane. So all that additional green space, that additional landscaping could be even further reduced. Again, kind of removing that from the equation, lowering our maintenance cost, and then lowering the overall pavement in the city. So those are the concepts that we have come up with, and I'll move on here to this wrap up and let Mark come back up.
Thank you, Zach.
I really appreciate y'all bearing with us. I know this is a lot of information. It's a lengthy presentation. This is an important milestone for the community. If we are going to make a transition like this, it is a wholesale shift in the way we think about traffic control as you saw from the one graphic that Mr. Weir had up, the initial cost of a roundabout is considerable. And so we are going to, if we head in this direction, it is going to be a strategic application of roundabouts. We're not going to be the West Coast version of Carmel, Indiana anytime soon. And in fact, when you think about it, their experience is a 30-year pattern of conversion from traffic signals to roundabouts, and they've been very aggressive about it, and including the financing strategy that they use for those is highly leveraging, the value of their community through bonding, something that we may or may not even have the capacity to do, much less the intestinal fortitude that Mayor Brainerd seems to have he doesn't seem very risk averse, I'll put it that way. Just a couple of follow-ups. You mentioned the Riley East Bidwell intersection, Councilmember Kozlowski. That is a good example of somewhere where a brief feasibility study to just conceptually lay out what a roundabout would look like within that footprint. What would be the potential, land use implications? Would we have to acquire any right-of-way? Would there be any other challenges? Or is it feasible? And what would be the potential air quality and traffic benefits? So we know what funding source to go after, should that be one that we would prioritize. Again, really what we're here to ask of you is, one, do you need any more information about roundabouts? We've given you quite a bit to chew on here this evening, and that was without Mr. Houck, who would probably still be up here talking about them because he knows so much about them. But if you do need more information to make an informed decision, we're happy to come back and provide that. But really, if you're ready, the main question is, do you feel that it's time for us to develop a formal policy and start prioritizing roundabouts over traffic signals at either future control locations or in retrofit scenarios? And so I'll leave it to you.
Do we have public comment, or can I
just
jump
asked.
in?
There are no public comments.
Okay, all right. If I may,
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I do not need more information. I am a fan of roundabouts, and I think we should strategically make use of them at our earliest convenience. I am curious, just as a sort of side endeavor, and because I am thinking of some specific roadway segments that could be connected with roundabout nodes, about what the capacity is with a signal at either end of a road when you have 2 lanes of traffic going each way and a turn lane, whether that capacity is impacted if you reduce to a 1 lane going each direction and simply instruct people to do right-ins and right-outs at the driveways, because within a relatively short distance they can circle back to the stuff that's on the left side. So I'm curious about how much narrowing we can do without slowing the flow of traffic once we have taken the step to slow the flow of traffic, if that makes any sense.
It does. It does require a little bit more complicated answer than I could give here at the
Absolutely.
dais.
No, I'm asking for a future investigation.
But what I can generalize is that I used the phrase earlier: wider nodes, narrower roads. Right. You can create additional capacity out of a 2-lane road when you have a network of roundabouts, that are connecting them, because you're having constant lower speed flow versus stop and go traffic, where you're trying to make room for people to queue up, wait for the next green signal, and then proceed, and all the turning movements associated with that. But there is a theoretical upper limit to where you can achieve that, and I'll have to probably defer to Kimley Horn or a more detailed traffic analysis to look at a specific scenario.
Yeah, I asked the question only because we have some areas in town that have for the way that we're using the road, they have very narrow right-of-ways. But if we were able to reduce the amount of space that cars used, they're generous right-of-ways for other purposes, for trees and bike paths and sidewalks and things like that, protected bike paths. So I'm all for this, and I'm particularly interested in the segment that you identified there by Walmart, and I think its sister along East Bidwell that converges. I think that whole zone right there that we call the Central Business District would be a perfect place to be ground zero for circular movements in Folsom. Thank you. That's all I have.
Anna, do you have any questions, comments? No? Okay. You scared me. Sarah?
I know Mark's going to tell us to temper our enthusiasm, but I say yes, yes, yes. I am so thrilled with this presentation. I do want to give a quick shout out to Folsom residents, Ryan and Colleen McCormick back there. When Ryan and Colleen, they stopped somewhere before, but they came here from Carmel, Indiana, essentially. And I had never heard of Carmel until I met with Ryan. We had coffee maybe almost 4 years ago, and he told me about it. And ever since then, I'm always looking at Carmel's website and seeing what they're doing. And I couldn't be more thrilled about this. Absolutely, I think we need to develop a formal policy. I would like to see conversations starting with developers south of 50 to, adjust those areas in the greenfield if we can. I've been saying for a while now, I think we need a roundabout at East Natoma and Natoma to slow traffic on and off Folsom Lake Crossing. And I think we own all the property on all four corners. So to me, that is a natural place for it. And I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here, but I do want to just say, last year when this council was talking about a potential sales tax increase, one of the reasons that I voted against it was because I didn't feel like we had laid out any sort of vision for the city. To me, this is a vision that I could get behind to say, look, we can improve traffic flow, we can improve safety, we can improve air quality if we make an investment in our city. And obviously, we're not going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to go retrofit the entire city, but if we can identify these key intersections where this makes sense, that is something I could get behind 100%. So very, very well done. Thank you very much.
Rosario, I do have a comment now.
Okay.
You woke me up. So I thank you for the presentation. I mean, it looked beautiful looking at the pictures of the other towns or cities. I do agree there was a lot of accidents in the last month as we spoke about ourselves at Folsom Lake Crossing near East Natoma. So I would like to see that being considered as a possible opportunity for one of our first offs because, well, and just any information you have right now about the traffic calming ability of a roundabout versus a light that is green, reduction of speeds and things like that. So any other comments you have on that would be great. But I agree on that spot. I think it's a critical piece, and this could solve a lot of different issues as well.
Yeah, it is important that if you're going to implement roundabouts, that you think about it on a corridor basis, not on a one-by-one basis. If you're going to want to wholesale change the behavior of motorists, it doesn't happen by just putting one roundabout down, but you can, through a network of roundabouts, actually induce just lower, consistent speeds. And one of the things that we all see is people racing from one signal to the next, trying to anticipate that green. You don't see that when you're talking about a network of roundabouts because you know what's up ahead of you. You're going to have to slow down anyways. The cars ahead of you are already slowing. So that's what the Rockland experience was. They just put in 2 roundabouts, and that entire corridor saw a sharp reduction in their overall 85th percentile speeds.
But we have to start somewhere, and roundabouts are very pricey. So if it reduced speed, increased safety in that accident-prone section, then we can move on. I mean, this is going to be done over time, so we got to chip away at it at a time, right?
That's correct.
Unless we get some fabulous grant for $10 million like that.
And get us a couple of roundabouts.
Councilmember Chalem-Churla?
Yeah. I want to see the slide 14, sir, if you don't mind. I know that's what Anna was talking about. And this is what probably I want to echo Sarah mentioned. It's about the safety, right? No one is going to say no when we are talking to residents. about the safety. And T intersections, collisions are always the 40 miles per hour, or most of the times 55 miles per hour. In fact, there is no blues at all, in fact, in my mind. I just want to re-emphasize that one, the importance. And the second one, I still have a question though, Matt. Expensive, how expensive is that? I saw the bar. Is it, if you don't mind, can you bring, because at the end, again, we as a custodians of the public money, we have to balance, right? So that graph is, since you started not from zero, right?
Yeah, the initial cost to design and construct a roundabout from our experiences in our recent tour were in about the $3 to $4 million range. Whereas a traffic signal is, as you can see, is down more for design and construction, starts you at around $1 million. But the thing with the traffic signal is, you know, we're constantly out there changing out the electronics and fixing knockdown poles, and it's a very maintenance intensive. Where a roundabout, you know, you do have to do some occasional resurfacing of the asphalt, a little bit of concrete repair, but it doesn't over time add up to nearly the cumulative cost of a traffic signal. But yes, the initial cost is much higher because there's a lot more concrete work, a lot more grading, right-of-way acquisition potentially. So like in the example Councilmember Aquino gave over at East Natoma at Folsom Lake Crossing, we do own the land all the way around there, so there is a potential cost savings at that particular location. But that's a bit of a unicorn. Most places we are going to have to be looking at right-of-way acquisition in order to fit a roundabout in.
Right, absolutely. And again, I want to echo, even though it is a little expensive to start, that's where, you know, the additional funding, what we are thinking to go in front of the public for asking for little extra half a cent from them, or a cent, whatever it is. I'm not going there right now, but we are seeing or showing some values especially. And also, I'm so happy to see some of our planning commissioners are still actively listening. At the end, these are all may not be coming to the council when the design comes and all those, right? So it's going to be stopping at the planning commission. I love their smiling and nodding the head. I'm observing them, especially the slide 23, 24, when they said, you know, traffic signal to roundabout. Yeah, I see the smile already everywhere. Let's work towards it. I'm all for it. And love to see your second bullet, a recommendation for a policy or for us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And I saw only 4 guys went. I wish I could have known. I joined your last seat. I'm just kidding.
So, you know, roundabouts to me get me a little excited because I like to get to point A to point B. And there's, you know, when I get to a stop, it's like, you know, so the fact that I could keep on the flow is exciting. I think all it takes is driving around Mexico City to realize how roundabouts work, and it's overly congested, but the flow of traffic continues to go, and you don't come to stop. So I am a big fan of them. I say yes, go for the, what was the second bullet?
Framework for a policy.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm a supporter of that.
I would just like to add, and I think Matt would beat me up if I didn't add this, but if we can't accurately convey the experience that we had in Carmel, I would highly encourage you to go experience it yourselves and do it while Mayor Brainerd is still serving over there. Just bring your walking shoes. That guy, he'll take you on a walkabout. He's very proud of his community.
That's
Thank you for your
actually,
direction on this.
Mark, I do have a question. There was a question about roundabouts, and so you have the bike lane, and then you get to the actual roundabout, and the bike lane disappears, but bikes then at that point use the lane.
They'll potentially have the option, and this is a design consideration for us. The bike lane will end, and the bicyclists then will potentially have a choice of either sharing the lanes in the roundabout, which, you know, the more experienced and aggressive cyclists will probably be prone to do. But we can also give them the ability to ramp onto the pedestrian facility, and instead of designing it as a 6-foot sidewalk, we would design it as a 8 or a 10-foot multi-use trail that would guide them around the outside perimeter of the roundabout, sharing the space with the pedestrians.
And so in Salinas, California, where the roundabout was near the school, how do those roundabouts work with students that are utilizing those intersections? I know you show, yeah, this one right here.
Matt, can you talk about that?
Unfortunately, Sean Hauk, my colleague, that this is his pride and joy, is not here. It's important to note that this is clearly it's under construction. We don't see the crosswalks that are definitely there. What happens is you end up concentrating the pedestrians, and they cross narrower roadways. So you cross one direction at a time.
Okay.
I keep
Kind of
picturing-
see in that picture in the foreground where once you come off of the left side leg of the Y circle, yeah, right there, you take the crosswalks away from the actual roundabout a little ways so that you're crossing a narrow part of the street more easily.
Okay.
But you're also doing it in the spot where people are already slowing because they're entering the circle, or already going, coming from a slow speed because they're exiting the circle. So it's a balance of not close, but not too close.
Yeah, thank you.
I can't remember if it was Lincoln or Rockland, but one of them has a roundabout by the DMV, which is absolutely brilliant to put that on the route that people who are trying to get a driver's license will have to navigate. We ought to do that.
That's a good one.
So Mark, you have sufficient information
I
to move
do.
forward?
I
Okay.
absolutely do. Thank you very much.
All right.
Visit Scotland if you want to try a bunch of clockwise circles, because the whole country is roundabouts.
All right, will the clerk please call the next item?
And next item is new business, item number 14. This is resolution number 10961. This is a resolution authorizing staff to submit grant applications to the Sacramento Area Council of Governments for the 2022-23 funding round.
Sorry, you get me again, Mark Rakoven, your Public Works Director. I promise this should be a much faster item than the last one. So about every 2 or 3 years, the Sacramento Area Council of Governments issues a call for grants for their regional funding round. They are the municipal planning organization for a 6-county Sacramento region that covers Yuba, Sutter, Placer, El Dorado, Yolo, and Sacramento counties. They are also the transportation planning agency for 4 of those counties, excluding Placer County and El Dorado. They have their own transportation agencies. They do allocate all of our regional transportation and air quality apportionments. Normally, that is in excess of $100 million every 2 years, but it is allocated out over that entire 6-county region. Recently, they changed the format of their allocations to create 2 major categories, which they call transformative and maintenance and modernization, and I'll go into a little more detail on those in a second. And then they have a smaller program that's called the Community Design Program. So this is from SACOG's own website to assist agencies in deciding which category a grant application should fall under. In a nutshell, if your project is over $5 million, that's a transformative project. You're talking about bridges, interchanges, really major capital projects per se, whereas your maintenance and modernization category is generally everything under $5 million, but they do have a number of criteria that I won't go into in this flowchart. So this is our report card from the last funding round, 2020. We did submit a large number of projects totaling just under $24 million in ask. We knew we weren't going to get all of it, but we were encouraged by SACOG to fire the shotgun pellets and see what hit. you'll see that we were successful in getting what were our 3 highest priority projects awarded. One was the US 50 East Bidwell Iron Point, so this is the triple left turn at East Bidwell Iron Point. And at the time, it was believed that we were going to have to widen the westbound on-ramp to accommodate all the traffic coming from that triple left turn. That's why that was considered a transformative project. It actually came in a little bit under $5 million. We have since been working with Caltrans on what we believe will be a successful approach of just converting that HOV bypass lane into a multi-use lane to have the capacity that we need on that westbound on-ramp without having to physically widen it. So a $4.5 million project just became a $500,000 project. And what we're hoping we can do with SACOG is reallocate that funding to the Empire Ranch interchange, which we asked for $10 million, they awarded us $2.5 million. And that's, it's a good start, but we're a long ways from funding that project. We do believe that right now we have enough money to proceed into final design and get this thing ready for construction bid, but probably only for an initial phase of the interchange. And we shared that with you at a recent council meeting. We gave a presentation where we probably are only going to be able to achieve an overpass and maybe a couple of ramps in an initial phase, but that would have a great deal of utility, and then we'd have to come back and build the rest of it in later phases. We also successfully got funding to completely implement our Intelligent Transportation System Master Plan, which is our ongoing efforts to interconnect all of our traffic signals, put monitoring cameras at each, message boards to inform the public of driving conditions, and Zach is making great strides in getting that fully implemented. The rest of the projects on our list, with the exception of the Central Business District's streetscape, did not get awarded any funding. CBD Streetscape was awarded $100,000 because it was non-competitive. That was, you could just say, give me $100,000 and they will give it to you, no questions asked. And we're gonna hopefully take advantage of that again in this funding round. What we've brought to you this evening are the 6 projects that were holdovers from the 2020 funding round that either did not get funding or did not get sufficient funding. And 4 new projects for your consideration. The 4 new projects are a bicycle undercrossing of East Bidwell Street in the Folsom Ranch, just south of the interchange. The Santa Juanita Avenue curve, this is an area that some of you are familiar with, where we've had a long history of people heading south on what is Barton Road coming out of Placer County, and careening off of a tight radius curve and into a property fence of a Folsom resident. So one potential grant application would be to start the design process to realign that curve. Thanks to your guidance on the previous item, a roundabout policy planning study where we can look at intersections like East Bidwell at Riley or East Santoma, Folsom Lake Crossing, and start a feasibility study to determine potential cost benefits and qualifications for future grant application. This is why I wanted to flip-flop the 2 items, and thank you for indulging me in that. And then lastly, a trail maintenance, citywide trail maintenance program that was submitted by our Parks and Recreation Department. These are not listed in any this is not staff's recommended priority order. I just simply listed the 6 holdovers above the 4 new projects. This is a new business item so that we can have a dialogue and hopefully achieve some consensus on what the actual priorities will be.
Mark, would you please reach out to your counterpart with Sacramento County and ask that they put a similar request in for Santa Juanita if they have not? And I'm going to talk to the appropriate elected officials about that.
One of the strategies we had leading up to this was a joint application where we would be co-sponsors, but I do need to circle back and see if they are
Let's
still.
try to do that if that's possible. Thank you.
So the total ask here is about 22 million. We are under no illusions that we're going to get $22 million out of the SACOG funding program. Based on my past experience, we're probably looking at more of an $8 to $10 million allocation to Folsom, although that is really unofficial, but that has been the track record in the past. So here's a map that just shows the relative location of the projects that I just listed for you, minus the roundabout policy and the trail maintenance, which are citywide and cannot be pictured. And then just some some details on some of the key projects. This is the Empire Ranch interchange preliminary design that you have seen in the past. You will note that roundabouts were, per the Caltrans ICE evaluation, were the optimal design for that interchange. And now that we have guidance, we can proceed in that direction. The Oak Avenue Parkway Complete Streets project is one that we've thrown at SACOG for now. This will be our fourth try. It is a wholesale modification of a 2-lane section of Oak Avenue Parkway between Baldwin Dam Road and Folsom Auburn Road, including intersection widening signal modifications at Folsom Auburn to improve capacity, and a roundabout at the Baldwin Dam Oak Avenue intersection. The key to this really, though, is adding a Class 1 bicycle facility alongside the roadway. And then the American River Canyon Drive Road Diet Project, the section of American River Canyon Drive through ARC South, so from Oak Avenue all the way down to Greenback Lane, has been notoriously over-designed. It's a 4-lane road through a residential area. Never really ever needed to be 4 lanes roads wide, so we're considering here repurposing the pavement, create buffered bike lanes, more consistent bike lane width, narrow it down to 1 lane per direction, and that actually also features some mini roundabouts.
It really feels like you could make some circles with sandbags at each of the intersections and then restripe that road into all roundabouts with wide bike lanes.
I'll have to another time share with you when we tried to do something like that in Briggs Ranch Drive, and the reaction we received from the public was less than desirable. I mentioned the East Bidwell undercrossing. Unfortunately, I don't have a better exhibit, but this is generally the location where that undercrossing would be built, where East Bidwell is starting to climb to go over Highway 50. And we are intending to build a Class 1 trail all along the southern edge of Highway 50. And this would be the logical point for those two pieces to connect right between the future Dignity Hospital and the UC Davis campus. And then here's the Santa Juanita Avenue realignment that I mentioned before. I've circled the location where we have the recurring collision history. The good/bad news of that collision history is they are all property damage only. Very rarely does even the motorist receive any injuries. More often than not, they're backing away from the fence and fleeing. And really the only property damage has been to a fence and some landscaping. The bad news is because they are property damage only, it does not qualify for Highway Safety Improvement Program grant funding or Safe Streets for All funding. So I'll leave the list back up here. I'm happy to entertain any questions about any of the 10 projects, but really what we're looking for, what SACOG asks of us, is that we present to them what our community's priorities are, and so they will make every effort to honor our community's priorities when they're deciding which program or which projects to fund.
Thank you, Mark.
Have you written the grants for these yet?
We are in the
You
process of doing that. They're actually due, well, some of them are due in about 2.5 weeks, and some are due next month.
So I'm curious, I wrote when I first looked at this last month, I wrote covers at the parks for summer. I know that's an issue for some of my residents in District 5 especially, but I think beyond as well. I mean, if you talked about that 100,000 grant that you got easily. Do you think that's a possibility in something like this to get a grant for? It's kind of unique in its ask.
That's a good question. It's not one that I've considered before. Yeah, it's a little outside the purview of my department, but I can certainly go back and review the criteria and see if that matches here. I believe it would, since it's under the community design umbrella.
Yeah.
And so.
And not all parks, obviously, you'd make a priority list, but like Economy Park or those parks that have no trees, no shelter at all, I think it would be a win for the community.
I'll make a note to myself to get back to you with some feedback on that.
Thank you.
Sarah?
Oh, I have questions. I'm just waiting. Number 3, Mark, can you explain one more time? It's a trail coming alongside the train track all the way to the White Rock. Is that what it is?
That's correct. So the particular project is along the east side of East Bidwell Street, generally from Oak Avenue Parkway, by California Family Fitness, all the way down to Iron Point Road. We do have some portions of that corridor that already have a paved bike trail, but we have 2 very significant gaps. One in front of Folsom Lake College, so from Oak Avenue to Scholar Way is missing the paved bike trail. And then again, from Broadstone Parkway down to Iron Point Road, across from the Palladio, that is also a gap in that trail system. So the Parks and Recreation Department would like to finish the design of that trail and then seek the $1.7 million to actually construct that pretty critical gap in our trail system.
Awesome. Okay. And on number 6, I know you and I are talking about it, American River Canyon Drive, that 4-lane to 2-lane. Is it going to help any of the traffic and safety, or besides giving more comfort, more place to the bike riders and better pedestrian walking? Is there any traffic collisions has been happened, and hence we are asking for that?
No, the collision history isn't really the driver here. It is more about, recreating that space to making it a better pedestrian and bicycle environment.
Got it.
Matching the community that the road's going through. By narrowing it from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, we should see a drastic reduction in the overall speeds. Right now, I think it's posted either 40 miles per hour or 35 miles per hour.
Yeah.
And obviously, our hope would be to achieve more of a 25 to 30 mile an hour running speed out there.
Makes sense. Okay. Good. I think those are the only questions. And by the way, number 8, all the new lights interim you guys are putting there in the nighttime. Wow, it's very sharp in our eyes, which is good. It's helping.
So, Mark, just for my own clarity, your ask right now is feedback on some of these line items?
Really, our ask is, to shuffle this list around to prioritize it in the way that we feel is best for our community. Again, this is $22 million worth of ask. We are not going to get $22 million. So, one scenario you might consider is, the $10 million for construction of phase 1, maybe we need to defer that to the next funding round in 2 years. That gives us more time to build up some more impact fees south of 50, find out whether or not there are going to be any other revenue streams in our city or our region. And then that allows you then to open up our opportunities to achieve funding for the other 9 things on the list.
Yeah, definitely that number 1 is really important because we see so much impact on East Bidwell, the exit. And so you either get, you have Folsom Boulevard and then you have Prairie City, but there's so much congestion on East Bidwell that the Empire Ranch interchange it's needed.
On number 1, I'm definitely going to take Mike's help here because we are asking money for the last few rounds and all of a sudden we paused and again starting. Maybe Mike, you probably is a better person on number 1.
excuse me, based on the way that the funding has been distributed in the couple of rounds that I've been able to observe directly, I don't think taking a pause is going to put us in a bad position for future rounds. It's the one item here, though, that kind of fits that transformative category really well. So we may want to try and, redefine the American River Canyon Road Diet or something like that to try and hit some of those marks if we deprioritize that. But I absolutely am game to maybe pull that one back a little bit and push some of these smaller things that could have some, get to completion a little quicker. And I certainly could put these selfishly in order of what I think is important, but I think even though it impacts just a few of our neighbors, that Santa Juanita thing has got to be one of our top priorities because it is just.
It comes up often.
It hasn't resulted in any, really horrible accidents, but it could be only a matter of time, and it's long overdue.
Got it. So number 1 is going to be in the list, but not as a upper.
I
2,
actually
3, 4, 5.
I'm sure you have more too, but I mean, I like continuing with it. It gets brought up all the time. And I think continuing to chip away at that, what we need to fund that, gets us closer to it. So I'm okay leaving it even as number 1.
Yeah.
What I'd like to see, I'll just take a moment. I have a whole reordering. So number 10, the trail repair and maintenance, I'd like to see that go up towards number 2. I think that benefits the entire city.
I'll just make notes of these.
And then I'd like to see the roundabout go up around 5. I have more, but I want to hear from you guys.
Right. So is that what you are expecting from us? We want to make sure the purpose at the end of the day, is that what our council, and is that what you are looking from this?
This is actually required by SACOG that we identify community priorities. If this list were okay in the order that you see it, this is how we would report it to SACOG, that Empire Ranch Interchange is our community's highest priority, followed by Natoma Street drainage, and so on and so on. What I'm hearing so far is Empire Ranch Interchange stays at the top of the list, but trail maintenance moves up to number 2, and then everything else gets pushed down until roundabout study inserts itself as number 5. If there are additional thoughts, I will.
I can give my order, and then we can work off that if you guys, because I really wanted to hear feedback. This was just my initial reaction from what I've heard the last couple years. Is that okay? I don't mean it's.
I just have, before you start, Councilmember Robot. So it's about 22 million, right? So number 1 automatically brings us down 10 million, so now we're looking at 12, and you think we're going to get about 8?
8 to 10
8 to
would be
10.
my educated guess.
Okay, so let's just go and say it's 10. So we're looking to reduce 2 million from that, and I'm just working my way backwards. So with the exclusion of number 1, we're looking to identify what in there 2 million-ish that we could remove from the list and then consider everything else a priority? Is that one way to go about it? I mean, we can sit here and go through which one's number 1. They're all important, and they probably all have a value of some sort to our community. But 22 million, we're not going to get. We're looking at 10. We taking number 1 and saving that for the next round. So we're looking at.
Might I suggest this, Mayor, that if you look at it from the standpoint, if I were to hand you $10 million and this list, where would you spend it? Because I know if I were handed $10 million, the pavement repair would probably be at the top of the list, and the roundabout study. But that's just coming from an operational standpoint. I'm trying to get a read from this council on which of the projects on this list is where you would spend that $8 to $10 million.
Can I ask, just for my own sake, for my own, I'm not an expert in this. Can I ask you, what is your priority? Like what, you're the professional, you're the expert, Mark. What would you call to be the number one priority on this list?
Fair enough. And I would say that I think we should probably defer the interchange construction for one more funding round.
Okay.
I would hate for us to go all in on that and still not be in a position to fully fund what we would like to do. I think maybe that is still 2 years away, as much as it is important, as much as we need it. We do still need to finish the design, and then we can go from there. So if you just take that 10 million off the list, now you're down looking at more around $12 million in ask, and that's a little closer to what we think we can get from SACOG. So I would say that we do need money for pavement rehabilitation. I think what you're seeing is happening to our streets just as a result of this storm should be driving that point home.
Absolutely.
That we need to get our roads back up in good condition. And so I would prioritize pavement repair, the trail maintenance. The roundabout study, I think, is going to be hopefully low-hanging fruit for us to achieve. So it kind of doesn't matter where it is on the list, but we do need to give it a relative priority for SACOG's benefit. Natoma drainage, again, this is a project where we don't have a funding stream. We don't have a drainage impact fee here. So normally we fund drainage projects by using Measure A dollars or any other. We rob Peter to pay Paul, since we don't have a dedicated fee for this. So in that sense, I would encourage us to make a run at some maintenance and modernization funding. The rail trail, I think, is a very important element of our trail system. We're going to get a lot of bang for our buck if we can get that one awarded. Conversely, American River Canyon Road Diet, where I think it's a very important project. The benefit cost there for almost $3 million to do what we're trying to do. I'm not sure that I would consider that a high priority, just on a benefit cost ratio approach.
Number 6.
Yeah, number 6. And the Oak Avenue Complete Streets one, that's one that we've had on the radar for several years. It might be time to reimagine it, particularly now that we know what we do about roundabouts. Maybe we don't need to be looking at a 4-lane road with a signal modification at one end. Maybe that needs to be reimagined as just a 2-lane road with a bike trail, and possibly the roundabout at Baldwin Dam Road, and see what that gets us. So maybe we take that off the list or move it way down on the priority and give us some time to reimagine that project. Because it hasn't scored well so far with SACOG in its current form. So I'd hate for us to put a lot of effort into it and then just get it kicked to the curb again. So I guess what I'm saying is I would move, as Councilmember Rohrbaugh said, let's move trail maintenance up. Let's move pavement repair and rehabilitation up, drainage, defer the Empire Ranch interchange for one more funding round. And then we'll also prioritize the Folsom Placerville Rail Trail.
And that gets us closer to those 10 mil?
I think so.
I can,
Are you guys
because I was
okay with that?
If taking in that, I could give you
Yeah.
the order that he kind of added with his. If you don't mind, I would love to give kind of the full order.
Yeah.
From his suggestions, and then we could, because I want to hear others. So I would now, if we take one off, I would do number 10 as number 1, and number 3 as number 2.
Number 3 is number 2. Okay.
And these are all really subjective. Number 5 is number 3. Number 2 as number 4.
Thank you.
And then it gets, number 9 is 5.
Trail maintenance shows
Oh, you're
up
already
as the
there.
second one a couple of times here.
So trail maintenance would be
Number one.
number one.
Thank you.
And then, well, just go, so, where was I? What, 5, what comes after 5? 6, number 4 is 6. And number 8 is 7. And then I didn't classify 6 and 7.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. Okay, that's a good start, right? But I have a question though. We all know government how they work. You ask $10, they'll give you $5. I mean, I worked
So
state.
ask for 20.
Exactly. So let's keep, and that's me. Again, you probably may have to, Mike, you can probably, however you want to put your hat as a SACOG rep or here. There's always discussions going on, right? And if you see the last 4 or 5 rounds, we ask for 2022 and we are consistently getting 8 or 9, then keep up our number high. And the same time, otherwise, if you can tell me, okay, no, that's not the case. There are very genuine people up there on the SACOG from all those counties. Even you ask sometimes 9 million, they'll give you all 9 million. If you have to help us, right? That way, whether we can take out number 1 or keep number 1.
I think we should submit it. Whether or not we consider it the highest priority, the lowest priority, we should still submit it.
Submit it, right? That's what you're recommending. Okay.
So are you guys good with that?
And I'm sorry, I want to add 8 as some coverage for parks.
Which one is that?
It's not on there.
So
Like
add a new
100
item.
to 200, I'm not sure.
Shade coverage, Mark.
Shade coverage would be for the equipment.
Let's see, I'll put it in as a comment.
So I don't have any reason to contest any of that except one exception. The Santa Juanita thing has got to be more of a priority. It's not much of an ask of money. It's got to be higher on that list. Aside from that, I'm perfectly happy with that order.
I would just respectfully note that we're only asking for planning and environmental at this point, just to get the ball rolling on it.
Yeah.
Just to manage expectations.
And you rightly said it's a joint effort from the county and us. So hopefully you will have an ally
Primarily
to-
Sacramento County.
Yeah,
is the driver
that's
on this.
one that the county should take responsibility for, but has avoided their responsibility up until now. So
I agree with you. Yeah.
So I just want to weigh in here for a second. So I agree with taking off the Oak Avenue complete streets for now. And although I understand the need for the American River Canyon Road Diet, the biggest complaint that I hear there is that we just need crosswalks on that street. So to me, that can come way, way down. I do like the idea of moving trail maintenance up, but I would personally put pavement repair and rehabilitation ahead of that.
Well, you actually said the pavement repair and rehabilitation was your number 1 priority?
From my perspective.
Yeah.
Does it make sense for the Empire Ranch Road interchange? What if we leave it on there, but we don't ask for $10 million? What if we ask for $2.5 million or something like that?
we asked for 10 last time and we got 2.5.
Okay.
So they're going to do that for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep it.
Yeah, well said, sir.
They'll do it.
I'm not too worried about the exact order. I'm willing to leave it. I mean, well, I guess this is what we have to do, huh? But yeah, I say for sure take 4 off and bring 6 way down.
Well, how about just hopefully to help us get to the finish line here, do we agree on the top 3 priorities being trail maintenance, the Placerville Rail Trail, and the pavement repair and rehabilitation?
Yes.
That's fine.
If I just go in with those as the top 3, and with the feedback that I've received here this evening, I'll smooth out the rest of the list, but those are the 3 that we'll focus on.
Well, and I'll just say also, I agree with Sarah. Oak Avenue, I think, could go down lower as well.
Yeah.
So
I'll
just so
move
you
that one
know.
down, yeah.
So do you have what you need?
I think so.
You're good? All right.
It is a resolution. I think the city attorney is going to probably ask for a motion.
Yeah, but on the OK venue, I like your, approach though. Let's make that as a bigger 4-lane from Baldwin Dam that side to all the way. That probably will get some attraction. And getting county, traffic is coming quite a bit from that side, and alive from county.
And as we've discussed, I think we can do some things in the interim in lieu of
Yeah.
a wholesale road diet.
Exactly.
So we're looking for a motion?
Motion,
Yeah.
yes.
I'll make a motion to, that we authorize staff to submit grant applications as described in Resolution 10-961, and with the caveat that this revised order be the priorities.
Okay. Do you have a second?
I second.
Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Can I clarify? I just want to make sure that it's the way you said 1, 2, and 3 is the priorities, and then you have the discretion to do it from there.
I absolutely accept that friendly amendment.
Thank you.
Yep, I second that.
Okay, council members Aquino?
Yes.
Chalem Chella?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
Rohrbach?
Yes.
And Rodriguez?
Yes. Okay. Will the clerk please call the next item?
That takes us to city manager reports.
Thank you, Mayor. 2023 has certainly come in like a lion with a series of atmospheric river storms impacting Folsom and most of California. Since late December, our team has been dispatching countless calls, clearing drains, closing and monitoring flooded streets, assisting residents, clearing down trees and power lines, providing traffic control, keeping our public informed, and so much more. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank our hardworking public safety and field personnel, many of whom have been working long hours in tough conditions to keep all of us safe during these storms. I'm also very grateful to the city's CAPS and CERT volunteers and other community members who stepped up to help and continue to do so. I'm very pleased to share that I have selected Marcus Yasutaki as our first acting assistant city manager. Marcus will serve in the role beginning, he started this week, for 3 months, leading special projects and taking the reins when I'm out of the office or unavailable. After the 3-month period, the role will rotate to another member of the city's executive management team, and this is part of my succession planning and professional development program. And then finally, I did mention CAPS earlier, and the City of Folsom Police and Fire Department are seeking more citizens assisting public safety CAPS volunteers. You first go through the Citizens Academy, which is an 8-week academy from March to April. It provides an in-depth look at the Folsom Police and Fire Departments and other city services. Applications are available for the 2023 Citizens Academy on the Folsom Police Department's website and in the police department lobby, and your application must be submitted by January 25th. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Rohrbach?
I just have a couple comments. I met with so many organizations, well, people in the organizations and leaders in this community that don't get named a lot, and I have just been overwhelmed at the professionalism and the visionary and results-driven people that I've met. And I just want to just call out one in particular, or two in particular, from the Folsom History Museum. If no one has gone there in the last year, it's completely renovated. They're really innovated. Rita Hofstad is the new executive director, or been there just over a year, I believe it's been, and Jeff Ferreira, the board chair. They have an incredible vision going forward. It's going to be such an incredible asset to Folsom. So I just really suggest that you go there, take family there when they come back in town. Historic District is a gem for Folsom, and the History Museum is matching that. So I'm really proud to have spent so much time with them. And just a reminder that I'm open to have conversations with anybody. And that's been one of the best things that has happened before I got elected, but also after I got elected. All of a sudden I'm a little bit more important, so more people are reaching out. And so just continue to do so. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your voice. So thank you.
Councilmember Kozlowski?
It is almost time for kids to sign up for spring sports, and may I suggest that the track and field teams at Sutter Middle School, Folsom Middle School, Folsom High School, and Vista Del Lago all need an army of kids. So high schoolers that stayed up late to watch a city council meeting, please go sign up for track and field. That's all tonight.
All right. Councilmember Aquino?
This council has made a concerted effort the past few years to take a more active position on legislation that could be harmful or helpful to the city. So I have a request. Both of these bills coming out of the assembly would make some changes to Prop 47 if approved by the voters. I suggest we take a support position on these. The first is Assembly Bill 23 by Assemblyman Muratsuchi, who is a Democrat. This would amend Prop 47, again, if approved by the voters, by reducing the threshold amount for petty theft and shoplifting from the current $950 to $400. And the second one is by our very own Assemblyman Josh Hoover, AB 75. Basically, this would restore part of Prop 47 that says if you've been convicted of petty theft, grand theft, or other specified crimes 3 or more times, the next time you do it, you're going to jail or prison, which, we know doesn't happen right now. And then I would just request that we adjourn this meeting in memory of Folsom resident Greg Berry. You may know his wife, Kat Berry, who is one of our CAPS volunteers. She's also on the Arts and Culture Commission, and she is also the principal at Oak Chan Elementary School. And her husband, Greg, died unexpectedly before Christmas. So I ask that we adjourn in memory of Greg Berry. And Krista, just for your purposes, it's Bahry. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Chalem-Chorla.
Okay. Happy New Year, Folsom. Happy New Year, everyone. This is our first meeting, right? And I echo city manager's comments, sincerely thanking each and every one involved in this storm support activities, especially late nights and freezing cold temperatures. Mark and Chief Casano and our police chief, please pass whomsoever it is our sincere gratitude for them, for their hard work. It's important. And the second one is, along with the mayor, we attended oath ceremonies for Sacramento County Sheriff, and our police department is also there. And also our district attorney oath ceremony as well, Mr. Ho. It's important for us be there, represent, and we are part of Sacramento County, and we always need that public support, extended help from those county organizations. So I just want to call that one out. And also, I know today we passed one of the resolutions, number 7, 10969. Which is about, even though it is a heavy storm and rainy water season, but most of the people are planning for your front yard, backyards for renovation, please conserve water. And the programs we have just approved is, Cash for Grass. Put the efficient toilets. It's important. The numbers are growing on. We started this in 2019, 2020, 2021. Those are uptick. I just want to remind, we just added more funding for that one. Please make use of those services from the city. Last but not least, I know there was a great holiday season, and we were doing all sorts of things. We did talk about our railroad. Moving the steam engine in the past. I know, Mark, you have been working with our previous mayor, Howell, and I highly request with our mayor, and can we restart one more time? What hurdles we have in front of CPUC, anything we can bring. That steam engine is, our pride for Folsom. Not many towns around has it. It's a recreation, bringing Folsom and distinctively by nature, and also, a recreation for Father's Day, Mother's Day, and holiday season. It's important to bring few visitors to our town, let them spend extra 7.5 cents on the sales tax, so that we will get a cent or cent and a half. So I highly recommend and request to see whether we can revisit that, and we can get that moving as well. With that, once again, Happy New Year, be safe, and good night, Folsom.
Thank you. Well, I just want to give a shout out to Elaine and our city staff who have worked so diligently the past couple of weeks since the storm started. What people don't see oftentimes are the 5 a.m. got to work, assess what's going on, the site visits, the constant emails, the 1 p.m. Sunday meetings with the Office of Emergency Services. And so I just want to just really give a shout out and say thank you for giving effective communication and keeping the community abreast of what is going on. And also, there's a week and a half left of ice skating, and so if you want to get out there and do some ice skating, you've got a few days left. And with that, we will adjourn the meeting in memory of Greg Berry.
Yeah.